New live streaming dedicated to episode 25 of this season 4 of Shingeki no Kyojin, season 4 part 2, or episode 84. I'm going to tell you all of my thoughts, all the analysis I made regarding this episode, this incredible episode. So I just wait 30 seconds more and then I will start analyzing it. Let me say that this episode was pretty intense. And as I was telling you down below in the comment section, I think that this episode was the core of all the story. I think that thanks to this episode, the author wanted to convey his main message. So I think that this episode was simply stunning. And once again, it's confirmed to us that Shingeki no Kyojin doesn't need an episode of a full battle or actions only. I think that thanks to this episode, we understand that Shingeki no Kyojin is great no matter what. This was so incredible. And okay, let me start analyzing everything step by step, scene by scene. And thanks to these scenes, I can develop my thoughts. Of course, if I look down 1 second, I made the notes as always, and it's better for me to check them sometimes because I don't want to skip anything. Another thing, last thing that I wanted to say in order to start is that, as always, these are just my thoughts that I developed throughout the years and throughout the months by watching Shingeki no Kyojin. If you have other thoughts, good for you. It's not that you need to follow precisely my thoughts, but you can develop your own thoughts that sometimes, and maybe many times, can go against what I say. But this doesn't mean that your thoughts are better than mine and vice versa. That doesn't mean that my thoughts are better than yours. It's just a different point of view. In the case you don't understand or you think that my thoughts are wrong. But once again, but this doesn't mean that I am forced to change my mind just because you think something else. These are my thoughts, and they will always stay my thoughts no matter what. If I will change my mind, it's just because later, by watching the future episodes, I will change my mind based on what I'm going to watch. Okay, let me start analyzing this episode as I was telling you. First of all, the first scene we see is John's dream. Even in the previous episode, we saw that John was listening carefully to what Flock was telling him, and he was starting saying, "Is it really the end? Is it over already? Is it over for real?" And he was starting thinking about, if Flock's words are right, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to become? Is it for real the end? And can I start dreaming about my future life? This is connected with that moment because actually this first part of this episode is happening before the signal that is launching to the others, before he's starting saving Onyankopon. So this is really important. You need to understand the time lapse and when these scenes are happening before the rest of this episode. Anyway, John's dream, as you can see from what he's saying, from what he is imagining, that's a simple dream. A dream of simplicity, a dream of stillness, something that is totally opposite with what he's living throughout these last years. And it's something normal that he is dreaming. That means to have a great house in the center of this place with a wife and with a baby. Let me start saying that if you analyze it carefully, that woman is Mikasa because she has a scar here. You can see it, or you can barely see it actually. But this woman is Mikasa because you all know that Mikasa is her dream lady. I mean, he's a dream. He's a woman in his dreams. I mean, his dream woman. So it's pretty coherent for John to imagine Mikasa in his future dream. But as I was telling you, I still believe that John is a great man because one thing is dreaming and one thing it will be a reality maybe. But at the same time, I think that John is a great man because he's respecting 100% Mikasa's feelings, no matter what. Anyway, in his dream, he can dream whatever he wants. He is not disrespectful to anybody, and he is free somehow. So this dream is helping John to be free for a second, to escape for a second from a reality that is pretty disgusting at this point. And in fact, you all know that John is closing his ears and he keeps dreaming these. So that makes you understand that this dream is a part of this way to escape from this cruel reality. He's creating this sort of secure dome in which he can go inside and shut everything else out from it. But anyway, this woman is Mikasa, yeah, and she is handling a baby. I mean, she's taking care of this baby that is supposed to be John's baby. But I don't be sure about this. I mean, okay, this is just a dream, but you all know that in Shingeki no Kyojin, especially in episode one, especially when Eren was in season 3, part 2, analyzing everything that was said by Grisha, Kruger, etc., etc. Even in that case, every time it was seen as a dream. Do you remember? So I like this author's choice to show us some things that maybe can happen even in the future. And if you check carefully, the baby seems like Eren. I mean, it reminds me of Eren actually. Maybe because he is almost like the baby we saw in the previous episodes when Eren and Zeke were talking and they were making this sort of journey throughout memories. But that baby really seems, I mean, he seems to have the same characteristics of Eren's baby version. Go back and check it out. I mean, he has the same face, the same hairstyle, the same way to enjoy the moment. So these, when I saw this scene in particular, I was pretty shocked because of everything that I told you many months ago. I think almost a half a year. Yeah, no, more than a half a year actually. Um, because I was always telling you that maybe, in my opinion, the good thing will be that Mikasa can have a baby from Eren before dying, and then John is going to take care of this baby, and the mother of this baby, that means Mikasa. And when I saw this scene at the beginning, I was like, oh, wow, okay, that this is just a dream that John has. But this was exactly what I was thinking. So that was simply shocking me. But anyway, we all know that this is just a dream that John is having in that specific moment. But anyway, if you remember, I just open a bracket. If you remember, Eren, in that episode that I'm telling you once again, let's go back 1 second to the episode in which Eren and Zeke are confronting themselves through memories. You see that in that moment when he's seeing Grisha, the young Grisha, that is having this baby from Carla, that is Eren, somehow they seem like John and Mikasa. If we check them at a distance, and if we check the fact that Grisha was having his back on Eren, so Eren somehow knew that that was Grisha, but at the same time, it seems that that could have been John too because of the hairstyle, as much as Mikasa. Um, but because even in John's dream, Mikasa is having a longer hair, and in fact, this is the representation that John loves the most of Mikasa, because you remember that even in season one, he was asking her to keep the hair long until Eren said, "No, you, it's better if you cut your hair," and then Mikasa cut her hair. So, but what I'm saying is that in that scene, if you remember, Eren is looking once again to that specific scene before going to the next memory, as if I'm just saying this, even if it's a stupid idea, but as if he saw that scene in that way. In fact, he was having this face as if he was like, not just referring to Grisha and the Carla, but also maybe because he saw from the future the fact that maybe at the end of the day, John will take care of Mikasa once he will die. This is pretty interesting because we all know that Eren is supposed to know actually what's happening in the future, but then we also understood that maybe Eren saw few frames from the future and he didn't see the entire panorama. So did he see already that John would have taken care of Mikasa somehow? Is he afraid of this? In fact, that face he was making was simply, maybe he was anticipating us that he will not agree, maybe, the fact that Mikasa can have a man, another man next to her. This is interesting, absolutely. But going back to John's dream, I want to say that John's dream is pretty coherent because it's representing everything that he has always wanted to live, a simple life with a simple circumstance. With a simple family, a happy family, and finally a family that doesn't have any big deal to solve, a family that can find a peace once again with a peaceful circumstance, by drinking a little bit of whiskey, by being happy, by having this tiny balcony which he can see everything that is happening outside. Everything is so still. So this, as I was telling you, is a simple dream, but I really like this moment that John is recreating in his mind, because yeah, a little bit, just a little bit, this reminds me of the Mugen Tsukuyomi. Do you remember that even in Naruto they were recreating this moment in which they could escape the moment of the war, thanks to Kaguya. uh, I mean, thanks to, no, not to Kaguya, thanks to Obito actually, because they were trying to recreate these moments, these peaceful and happy moments. They were searching for them, right? As much as John is searching for his happiness and he's trying to detach himself from this external world, from the reality. Mm, but this dream is interrupted as soon as Hanji is he's knocking on this window, trying to bring John back to reality in this case, and trying to wake him up, even if he was already awake. Let me tell you, because he was just closing his ears, he was shutting them in order for him not to hear anything. And you see that John at the beginning, he is refusing to listen. He's refusing to accept that he was not the reality. It was just a way to escape from it. So he prefers to recreate this voice inside of himself that is pretending to let him say, look, no, don't listen to this. Let's go back to that dream, because that dream is more convenient, because that dream, it means happiness, and it means everything you have always wanted. Let's say that is a sort of a temptation that he himself is recreating inside his own mind. And should it sound like as if Johnny is a little bit coward in that moment? Yes, it could be. But I think that every one of us in a circumstance like this would like to escape a little bit and try to find our best place that we have always dreamt. So I think that John is pretty coherent with what he is doing, but it's like as if this voice inside himself is tempting him to keep staying over there and not doing anything. So you see that John is tormented, and he just wants to shut this reality out because he's pretty tired after so many years in which he was fighting, and he thought that he was fighting for something good. Now everything is collapsing because first of all he has to go against one of his best friends. I mean, Eren throughout the years became someone important to him, no matter the fact that they have Mikasa in common. But let's say that after that sunset scene, he was confirming to himself that Eren was loving him, that John was a special part for his heart. So after that moment, you see that Johnny is taking Eren's side. He is trying to protect him. He's trying to understand him. That is something that he didn't do for most of the other seasons. I mean, he was rebellious. He was going against Eren. Okay, okay, no matter the fact that they had Mikasa in common, but he see he sees Eren in a different way, especially after that sunset scene. So we don't have to forget that sunset scene, because especially for John is an important moment in which Eren is declaring love to everyone. So um, I think that this is pretty important and we shouldn't forget about this. And in fact, later you understand that every time, even in this episode, Eren is taking and John is taking Eren's side specifically. That makes you understand that the development of this character that is pretty amazing. I really love John and how he evolved in the best way. I think at the beginning we could have never imagined an evolution like this of this character, but I was simply surprised, and I was happy to see that Isayama could take care of this character, because he is representing simplicity. I mean, he is a simple character, and the more he went on, the more he could develop a great skill that is this will to protect the people he loves. And yeah, John doesn't have a special power. John is not coming from a special descendants like the Ackerman and whatsoever. He's not a titan. He is not having this super instinct of the main protagonist that is doing what he's doing. No, he is a simple one. But by being simple, that doesn't mean that he can't become greater than others. And in fact, that's what happened to him. But anyway, um, the more we go on with this scene, the more we see that John keeps repeating to himself, "Please don't hear, please don't go." Um, Go back to the dream you were dreaming, etc., etc. So you see that he's trying to convince himself that that's something good to do because of a Flock's words that were said some hours before, and the fact that John actually could have been sure of the fact that he could have had a great life later, that if he was just following what the Jaegerists were saying, he could have secured his life forever, because the world could have been destroyed on one side and he could have reached his dreams and he could have made them come true. But Before reaching the scene that I'm talking about, I wanted to praise even this will of Mappa to recreate this desolation after the rumbling started and after the rumbling finished in Paradise, because you see that it's night, and you know that when it's night, everything is so uncertain. So I really liked the choice, and this makes a little bit of difference between the manga and the anime, because in the manga there are no colors, so you can't understand, okay, you can understand if it's day or if it's night because of some details that even in the manga can be recreated. And I don't know if you understood in the manga if it was night or day, to be honest. But in the anime, this was well represented more than the manga, in my personal opinion. Even if I didn't read the manga yet, I will read it at the end. But I want to say that in the anime, Mappa well represented. Sorry, these situation that they are living in. That means, do you remember in the previous episode that there were these trembles that made you understand that the rumbling was still going ahead? But after the rumbling, after these colossal titans left, you hear pure silence. You hear this desolation, this wind that is breezing, as if there's nothing else rather than this. And you see lots of ruins, but at the same time, you see that it's night. And in fact, even the episode that we are analyzing right now, it's called the Night of the End. But you needed to know that it was chosen the night because during the night you think more than the day. During the night time you are exploring yourself more, you are exploring your insecurities more than ever, you are analyzing yourself, especially not just what's convenient for you but especially what's not convenient for you. You are surrounded maybe by your fears. You are thinking more than usual. So I think that that was a great choice in which we are analyzing a character like John emerged. I mean, while he is in this particular circumstance, because he's in a jail, and we don't have to forget that. I mean, not in a jail, but he is confined because he was supposed to be um, a traitor for the Jaegerists. So you see that he is confined inside of this building. It's night, and he is thinking. He is trying to escape from this bad reality by dreaming what he is dreaming. But going back to what I was telling you before, Hanji is trying to wake him up and to let him come back to his responsibility, to what he was fighting throughout all this time. Since that moment, he decided to join the Chosahedan, right? Um, and later, the more you see that John doesn't want to do so, the more you see in the next scene that John arrives, especially where Hanji told him to come. And he sees even Mikasa in front of him because he's hearing that Hanji understood everything that happened thanks to Mikasa. And let me tell you, I really like the moment in which John is looking at Mikasa at that moment, in that moment, because you see as if he's seeing the woman of his dreams looking at him, while a few seconds before he was dreaming of her hanging a baby. Okay, their baby. So yeah, that contrast in which you can see Mikasa with the short hair while he was dreaming Mikasa with the long hair handling their baby. And now you understand by looking at this Mikasa that John was back to his reality, the reality that he was really living. And you see, yeah, actually, you see that Mikasa has this scar here. So it's another confirmation that that woman you saw in the dream is Mikasa. But okay, then we go back to the scene I was analyzing. That means Hanji that is going straight to the point. I really like this scene in particular because you see Hanji's fragility once again. We were used to see Hanji's behavior throughout the first three seasons, and even in this season actually, but less than usual. You saw Hanji that was always laughing, that he was always creating these laughable atmosphere. But in this season, you get in touch with a unusual Hanji, in which you see the sadness, the frustration, the fragility that she's having, especially the moment in which she has to choose, and she knows how hard he is to be the commander of a Chosa Heidan, to be the commander of somebody else in a circumstance like this, because they were always used to go outside of the walls, explore, and they already knew the target that they were facing, right? And they were all together at the beginning, but now things are totally different. And so Hanji is going straight to the point, and she's not missing anything. She's saying that she has to create these alliance with others, and she is also saying that she is ready to stop Eren because that's the only thing that has to be done. And in order to create an alliance, she needs to find allies. She needs to find the comrades. She needs to find the people that are having the same purposes because of what I was telling you already in the previous episode. All of them have a purpose to fulfill, but so no, but no. So it doesn't matter who's going to join them. The most important thing is that each of them is going to fulfill their purposes. So I understand when in the previous episode, for example, Annie joined them, or if Magath or Peak joined them because, or even if, even the moment in which Levi was joining Peak and Magath, I understand all of them because all of them have a dream, have a purpose to fulfill. So even in this case, when Hanji is revealing to John and Mikasa the fact that she joined the Peak, Magath, together with Levi, that was pretty honest for her to tell something like this. And at the same time, I think that it was pretty coherent because she was confirming them that her mission is this. Her mission is to stop Eren, and in order to stop Eren, she needs other people because they can't do everything by themselves. This is a way to admit that. Sorry, wait a second. Okay, okay. Ping. Sorry. Ta-ta. Here we go. It's a way to admit that there is uh, this limit, that they are limitful, and they have to confront somebody that is not the same as before. They have to confront an enemy that was not supposed to be their enemy, and they have to confront this enemy that is pretty big, tall, and of course, Hanji alone can't do this, can't stop Eren by herself. So I really like Hanji's honesty because she could have said, "Oh no, we don't need anybody else. We are just the Chosa Heian. Let's go." Yeah. No, it was just a sentence to death. Okay. But in this case, she is understanding what's the priority here of everything. Um, and she also is saying that it depends on the people we are creating as comrades that we can see a final result somehow that makes you understand that the action is creating the consequence, and this is so important because without Peak, without Reiner, without Honey, I mean, without even a Falco, for example, they would have excluded the possibility to have some titans on their side and to help and to be helped to reach Eren. somehow. So this is coherent. I mean, what Hanji is saying regarding this action that is creating the consequence is correct. Without them, it was impossible to reach Eren somehow in time. Maybe they could have reached Eren somehow, but they would have been late. But by having the help of the Titans, it's easier. So I like this Hanji's coherence in this moment because she's analyzing what's going on. And this is not a way to be weak. It's just a way to ask help in the worst moment, and she's going to ask help to the people who have destroyed the paradise. Sincerely, this could have been hilarious in season one, but now we are reaching a point in which we have to understand what's going on. And I know that for many fans this was incoherent, that this was not good to do so, etc., etc. But if things would have been different, even the message of the author would have vanished somehow. So that's why I think that it's pretty coherent instead, because we have to reach a point in which we needed to reach the message of the author. Otherwise, all this story would have been meaningless. And that's why this episode was pretty meaningful, because finally we are reaching the goal of the author. We are reaching what the author wanted to transfer to us. And we can't be disappointed, because this is what we have always hoped to watch. We have always hoped to watch a way in which they could communicate with words instead of weapons. So if we are going against this, we are going against the point of all the story. And this is pretty sad. So let's go ahead analyzing everything. But I mean, I already anticipated you what I'm meaning later, but this is coherent. This is not incoherent from my perspective. Going back to what Angie is saying, um, I have a question mark that I'm asking myself, because when Angie is saying, look, it depends on the comrades we need in order to reach the mission, because the action is creating the consequence. Yes, we already said that is pretty coherent. But, dear Hanji, okay, this is something Hanji doesn't know, of course, as much as all the others don't know. But Eren already told us that everything is written already. So, of course, they don't know this, but we know. I mean, we omniscient viewer have this possibility to guess or to understand the things that some characters don't. The story is already written, so no matter what was going to happen, Hanji one day would have said these things, because the story is already written, and it couldn't be changed. Because, listen, I wanted to say this over and over again. The moment in which Sasha died was always a confirmation. Was also, sorry, a confirmation to Eren for the fact that he couldn't change this story, because it was already written, and later Eren is going to explain this to us. So my statement is Hanji and all the others would have joined anyway these titans, these people who are supposed to be enemies, because the story was already written. So when Eren was saying the story was already written, we could have understood that everything we are about to watch is supposed to happen anyway, no matter if we like it or not, no matter if we agree or not, because it was already written. So everything we are about to watch, even after this part two, maybe is what Eren already saw, is maybe Eren already saw from the future for this somebody from the future, because we still have to understand this. I mean, Eren is seeing everything because thanks to the Eren of the future. But what if this Eren of the future was also influenced by somebody that is coming even after the Eren of the future? I mean, we have already talked about this, and this is pretty interesting, let me tell you. Mm, but yeah, Eren maybe saw already that he would have confronted later these people who are united now. I mean, these people who are both friends but also enemies, who were supposed to be traitors, enemies, but they joined together. So what we are seeing after part two, I think that Eren already knew that they were coming somehow all together. um, and then going on with Hanji's speech, that was pretty sad, let me tell you. Yeah, I got emotional during the reaction because I seeing everything falling apart. I seeing that right now, throughout these seasons, they were supposed to protect Eren. They were supposed to stay on his side. And right now, we know that they are about to kill him. So this makes me pretty sad, to be honest. And that's why I feel emotional in all these episodes, because we are seeing beautiful scenes that are representing not just the sadness but also the resignation, the fact that we can't be helped anymore, that this is something that has to be done. But anyway, when Hanji is saying, I'm not your superior anymore, that decision is pretty sad to be taken, because she feels hopeless. I mean, she was supposed to be the commander of everyone here. And when she became the commander, thanks to Erwin, she has never expected to reach this moment in which she would have been in the same position in which Erwin was when Erwin was trying to rescue Eren in this case. But right now, Hanji is going against the same person that was supposed to be protected somehow. And she also is going against the people, the Jaegerists, that she was supposed to protect in previous seasons because they were all together at that time. So she's confronting this, she's confronting that, she's confronting the fact that she can't admit the genocide because this is going against the principles of the Chosahedan anyway. And she was the commander of the Chosahedan. So if you accept the genocide, you are also going against the Chosahedan's principles, because you need to remember that no matter what, no matter what's going to happen, the Chosahedan was built, this team, these four military forces, let's call them like this, was built thanks to these main principle, that means to save humanity. And at that time, when Chosahedan was going ahead, the humanity was supposed to be the people inside the walls, because they were thinking that humanity, the rest of humanity, was inside the walls. Later, when they understood that humanity was also outside the walls, they had to confront this. They had to confront this reality. They had to accept it, and they had to stop being ignorant. That is what Anji is saying later in this episode, and that statement was pretty important. But anyway, Hanji can't go against what she was fighting throughout the rest of her life. That is even what Levi was doing throughout all his life. That means to fight to protect humanity. And this concept of humanity can't be the same as before, can't refer to the walls only, to the people inside of the walls only, because this could have created discrimination automatically. why we should think about humanity just inside of the walls and not outside of the walls too. We are always talking about humanity. So what Hanji is doing, what she's saying that genocide is wrong, of course, is wrong. But it's wrong also because she can't go against her own principles, her own things that she was devoting herself since the moment that she joined the Chosahedan. So we shouldn't forget about this because this is pretty essential. Um, so when actually she's saying I'm not your superior anymore, it's because she is taking herself away from the role of the commander of the Chosa Hedan, that is the commander that was supposed to protect the people inside the walls. Now she's taking care of humanity in general, and she can't stand the fact that Eren is choosing something like this because, in her opinion, there is no excuse to create something like this. And of course, it's true if we check everything from the perspective of these people. If, of course, we check the perspective of Eren, we can say that Eren is doing what he's doing for a certain purpose. That is always to be condemned because it doesn't have any excuse. Yes, of course. But Eren now is blind. I mean, Eren is following this immense power that he has got from something or somebody else. And we all know that Eren was not strong enough to be still himself, to bring his reason together with his feelings too while he was handling this power. Because no matter what, he is a human being. So we don't have to forget that. Eren, even if he is saying that he was born like this, I mean, he was like this since he was born. Yeah, but no matter what, he is a human being. We can't deny this. And surprisingly, no, I'm not surprised at all. Mikasa is saying that she's ready to stop Eren. Of course, she's not put into account that she has to kill him, but definitely she's saying that she's going against Eren for all that he's creating. No matter the fact that he wants to protect them or not, she is going against this. But my question is, Mikasa is going against Eren because the principle is wrong, or because she's trying her best to find a way in which she can detach herself from Eren? Because you need to know that in this part of the season, Mikasa is trying her best to analyze herself, to understand if she can live without Eren, if she can't be dependent on Eren anymore, if she can find her own independence as an individual, as a person that can think her own thoughts without including Eren. So when she's saying, "Yeah, Eren, I wanted to stop Eren because the genocide is wrong because there is no excuse, even if he wants to protect us, blah, 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 blah." Yes, it's all correct what she says. And I'm pretty sure that she's going against him because of this. But somehow, something is telling me that she is also doing something like this based on her behavior throughout this part of the season, in which she is trying to find her own independence, independence of thoughts, independence of feelings, and whatsoever. That's why she also left the scarf over there in some episodes ago, because she really wanted to know that everything that she was thinking was Mikasa's thought and not Mikasa's thought based on what Eren was doing and blah 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 blah. She wanted to confirm to herself that she could think something different from Eren's thoughts. Do you understand what I mean? So I think that what's happening in Mikasa right now is a great will of yeah independence of thoughts, independence of actions. That is quite strong because it's a thanks to this process that Mikasa will be able to survive after. I mean, it's a thanks to what she's analyzing inside herself, experiencing without Eren, that this can be helpful for her to reach the moment in which she will live without Eren. It's a sort of acceptance that one day she will be alone, that she has to handle her life without Eren, without his physical presence. So this is taking Mikasa to a period of time in which she will suffer. She has to accept what it has to be done. She has to accept that she will kill Eren. She has to accept so many things, but it has to be done step by step. If you are forcing her to think all these things immediately, as much as Annie is doing later in the episode, that's a way that it's too fast for her to process. It's a way to provoke her at that time. And she doesn't need provocations. She just needs time to process all that is happening. And it's not easy for her because Eren was her, and is still her family. So it's a little bit easy for others to say, come on, we have to stop Eren, let's kill him. But if you tell Annie, okay, kill your father because that's what has to be done, I think she will say no, of course, right? So when people are talking to Mikasa so easily, they should understand that Eren for Mikasa is a family, is a love. So it's not something easy to do. But I hope you understood what I mean when I'm talking about this process that Mikasa has to confront inside herself by herself because she can't have the help of anybody else rather than her own help. So this is the right time in which she feels completely alone and she has to face her destiny, what's coming in the future. And in fact, she's saying, I wanted to stop him. I think that Mikasa knows that she can be the only one to stop Eren. I don't think that other people can. And these, I already told you these because of what I experienced by rewatching Lost Girls. I think that that extra episode was pretty useful for you to understand how Shingeki no Kyojin is going to finish. And the way in which only Mikasa can stop him because only a person who has loved this other person, only a person who has struggled, only a person who really knows the other one can stop him. So I think that Mikasa, in her heart, deep inside her heart, knows that she has to kill him, and that's why she knows, she's pretty sure that she has to confront this process for the moment, and thanks to this process that is going ahead inside her heart, she will reach the moment, the final moment in which she's going to cut Eren's head. But anyway, even if she's saying, I'm going to stop him, I want to stop him, she is also still hoping for another way to stop him. I mean, she's hoping that she will be able to find another way instead of killing him because hope is the only thing that is lasting until the last moment. So I really understand Mikasa because if we can find another way to save him or to let him understand that everything is so wrong, that's good for everybody because everybody can have Eren back as a friend, as a comrade, as a lover, as a family member, as everything. So I understand this hope, because I have to say that I'm deeply in touch with Mikasa right now. I feel her as if she's a great woman, a woman who has always struggled through the years, who always had to confront the fact that Eren had a time limit by becoming a Titan. So she already put in advance in her mind that she had to lose him no matter what. But right now, she's facing another trauma, that is the fact that she has to stop him. That maybe one day there will be even the chance that she has to kill him. And this is something else. This is something different, because one thing is to have the time limit in which you can think, okay, Aiden has a time limit. I know that he's going to die, but at the same time, we can spend the last years together by love each other and by creating a family, by creating something. And one thing is, it has a time limit, and we can't even spend the time together because I have to kill him. This is a nightmare, okay? I mean, this is a trauma for her. So I wanted to be empathetic with her. I don't want to condemn her. I don't want to say that Mikasa is always a slave of it, and because she can't do anything else rather than following it. And try to be more empathetic somehow with all the characters, not just with the characters you like, with all of them. That's what I'm trying to do. Even if I don't like some characters, like Yelena, like Zeke, and something else, I'm trying always to put myself in their positions sometimes when it's available to do something like this. But then John is saying, if we stop Eren, what's happening after? Yeah, these logical thoughts that John is having, I really love them, because it's quite understandable that he's asking something like this. We needed to remember that if we stop Eren, maybe we can have the entire world against us. We can't deny this. We can't say something contrary. If we put in John's position, we are thinking, okay, we are stopping Eren. That was supposed to be the one and only solution we had in order to be free. If we stop him, are we going to be free? This is an understandable question. No matter if you agree with what Eren is doing or not, we can't blame John for this question. I think this is something great. There's something that had to be asked, because their position over there is in the middle right now. They have a great purpose to save humanity, but in general, but at the same time, they are still considered as devils in paradise. So we can't avoid these. Okay, so he is predicting that while stopping Eren, maybe there will be another vengeance. I mean, there will be other revengeful thoughts from the other side of the world once again, and everything is starting as before. But Eren is gone because we defeated him. So, who's going to save us in that case? I really like John's thoughts, to be honest, because they are coherent, they are logical, and yeah, they are understandable. And Hanji is saying, no, look, it's a thanks to this rumbling that is happening right now that I don't think that they will do anything else after this. Yes, it could be true, but Hanji, you shouldn't forget that you should think also about the plan B. If this thing is happening, no matter what, if you defeat Eren, it's absolute automatically impossible then to start another rumbling in the future if you really need so. And if you think that you don't have other choices in the future too, but John, yes, is answering another logical statement that had to be said. That means he's replying by explaining what Vili Taiba said during the festival. And he's saying, I mean, that he was saying, until we destroy all of them as a confirmation, we should go ahead and exterminate them. That means exterminate the people living in paradise. So how John is counterattacking Hanji's thoughts is logical because it was said. I mean, Vilitaiba said this, and the rest of the world was agreeing in that moment. So we shouldn't forget this. And then Hanji is replying, but anyway, we will have some years to spare. That means, anyway, until they come to attack us once again, we can have a time to find a plan, etc., etc. And then John is getting even angrier, okay? Because he is saying, look, no, what happened so far confirmed me that even if we had some years in advance to try to project some things, etc., we couldn't do anything good because that's where we are right now. We needed actually to use even the rumbling because we couldn't handle or we couldn't imagine this surprising attack from Marley that happened. So Eren was, that's what he's saying, Eren was forced to use the rumbling because what we were planning to do was going in the worst way because of this surprise attack of Marley. And we were not ready for this. So that's why Eren used this last Joker card, let's say. But once again, John, I open a bracket, John, by saying this, doesn't know that Eren already saw things from the future. I mean, John thinks that Eren started the rumbling because there was no other choice because of this surprise attack from Marley. And yes, Eren at that time, at the beginning of season 4, part 2, he also was surprised of this special attack of this surprised attack from Marley. And that's why I still open a bracket and I'm saying that Eren is seeing just some frames from the future. He is not seeing everything. Otherwise, he would have not felt surprised of this Marley's attack. So as you can see, we can take for granted the fact that Eren saw things from the future. Yes, but not all of them. I mean, not all the scenes from the future. So we needed to remember this. We already have some evidence of the fact that Eren sometimes is still uncertain what to do, is still surprised sometimes. Um, so I refer myself to the sentence that Zeke said. Are we sure that you saw everything? Are you sure that you know everything? Mm. This is creating a little bit of coherence if we check all these moments in which Eren is, what? What's going on? Why? Etc. Etc. And then Hanji is stopping this discussion by raising her voice and saying, "The genocide is wrong," etc. 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 And then she's also saying sorry because she raised the tone of the voice. But you can understand Hanji's desperation in these moments because you see that Hanji is hopeless. She doesn't even know what to do anymore. I mean, she knows, but you need to remember that now she is deciding to go against a person, Eren, that she really cared of. I mean, Hanji really liked Eren. She liked Eren because he was the only one who was trying to listen to her for hours, while all the others were always going somewhere else as soon as she was starting talking. Do you remember? So Eren is a great part of Hanji's heart, and to defeat him, it's not so simple. um, Also because, and that's why she's almost crying, because you needed to know that Hanji really cared about Eren. Eren was staying next to her all the time in which they were training together. They were trying to find answers. Eren was helping her because by being a Titan and by making this training together, she could also extend her horizons by trying to find explanations. I mean, what Hanji knows, it's also thanks to Eren. The intelligence she developed, the researches she made, it's all thanks to Eren. So she, Hanji, was also pretty grateful to Eren because it's thanks to him that she could reach the same level of intelligence that even Peak is saying to her that she has. So, mm, and also because I repeat this, by saying that the genocide is totally wrong and there is no excuse, it's she's also following the principles of what she have fought throughout her entire existence. I mean, by being a member of Chosa Hedan, you are there to fight to save humanity. So I wanted to connect 1 second with what Connie said in the previous episode. That's coherent more than ever. Connie was also a member of Chosahedan. So by saving humanity, right now, the concept of humanity is changed. And all these soldiers can't go against these principles. It's like when you are a doctor and you are swearing on your position as a doctor that you are about to save humanity no matter what, okay? And you can't go against these principle. It's the same. The Chosahedan, they were swearing their hearts. I mean, they were devoting their hearts to save humanity. So when Hanji is doing what she's doing, she is just following the principles of the Chosahedan and she is not denying what she is, what she swore, her own principles, her own duties. So what they are doing is so coherent. When fans are still there debating if it's coherent or not, they should remember where they are coming from. They are coming from the Chosa Hedan. The Chosa Hedan were the military forces who went outside the walls to protect, to kill titans, to explore, but to protect humanity. Because they were the only one who were brave enough to go outside the walls to help humanity to be safe. So there are these mixed feelings in Hanji's speech right now because she is confronting these principles and these duties she has to follow. And at the same time, she has to attack a dear friend, a friend who helped her a lot, a friend who listened to her. And this is pretty hard to do. So her frustration is improving, increasing more and more and more as soon as she is also saying that she is feeling guilty because she was escaping somehow. That is what John was doing since a few seconds before. I mean, even Hanji was escaping together with Levi in that scene surrounded by the forest in the previous episode. She was confirming the fact that she was feeling a coward because she was escaping from this situation by asking Levi, oh, let's live here together. It's better instead of going over there. It was something coward to do, and she's admitting it to herself, and not just to herself only, but even to Mikasa and John that are in front of her. So it's a way to admit the failure of herself as a commander in that moment in which she refused to come back. And for a second, she preferred to stay there, to avoid everything, and to disappear in front of everybody. This was great because Hanji is being honest. She is fulfilling her goal to be honest by spilling out everything that happened, everything that she did, and this honest is repaid somehow. So I really like that Hanji is a honest commander. She is a honest person because she is afraid to say what she's saying, but she's not stopping from saying this. And this is something really great, something that it can already make a difference. Um, and also she feels guilty because she thinks that it's because of her negligence, is because of what she didn't do, that Aaron was forced to do something like this. I mean, she's thinking, if I could have found a better plan at that time, if I could have imagined that they could have created a surprise attack from Marley at that time, maybe Eren didn't found the chance to start the rumbling to stop all this. But even Hanji doesn't know that the purpose of Eren is based on what he saw from the future, because you need to remember that Hanji doesn't know this. I mean, she doesn't know the real power that the Shingeki no Kyojin has as much as all the others. So right now they are still seeing Eren as the savior, as the person who tried to save the paradise, because he was forced to do so because they couldn't find a better plan. You still have to remember this. And then while she's saying all she's saying, they are showing us the wings of freedom. That is the symbol of the Chosahedan. In this case, they are showing us these when, yes, as I was telling you, Hanji is referring to the moment in which she is confirming the fact that at that time she preferred to escape, or she didn't want to come back to that reality, to confront the reality, to face it, while she was with Levi and she was trying to cure him. Um, that was really nice. I mean, in this episode, you see many times that the setting or the symbols in particular, they are referring to the feelings of the characters. And these wings of freedom, they are particularly great in that moment. I mean, they are shooting, they are showing us, especially that symbol, because you use the wings to fly, and you use the wings of freedom because when you're searching freedom, it means that you're escaping from something. So when Hanji is telling us about the fact that she wanted to escape at that time with Levi, it's perfectly matching with these wings of freedom that are shown. As much as she came back always because of those wings of freedom, because of the responsibility that she has, and because of the duties she has to follow. So, as you can see, these wings of freedom, they can be seen in two ways. The ways in which Hanji decided to escape with Levi, escape from this responsibility, escape from this reality in order to search freedom, her freedom, or the way in which she is back because those wings of freedom are the symbol of the Chosahedan. And of course, the Chosahedan was those teams of the military forces who went out from the walls to save humanity. So this symbol can be seen in multiple ways if we have to take care of Hanji as a character in this moment. And that's why she preferred to come back to fulfill her duties, to fulfill the principles of the Chosahedan, to free humanity from terror. That is the main concept of the Chosahedan. And then she's saying, I see my comrades watching me. I mean, the people who died already, who sacrificed themselves already for this. And this can create inside of her heart a great stone. I mean, the depth of this great responsibility that she has. Um, and in fact, this is the same thing that Erwin said. Not just in the moment of the speech before the suicide attack, but even to Levi in particular. I mean, even Erwin was always talking about them. he was always thinking that they had to attack, they had to find always a solution, because they had to pay respect to all the people who died first, by trying to find one solution to go ahead. So even Hanji is feeling the same thing, because she's seeing her dear people she lost, actually, Mike, Erwin, and all the others behind them, that were also the same people that she said that she lost even in season 3 part 2, when she was talking about the serum that had to be given to Erwin or to Armin. Do you remember? She was talking like this to Mikasa at that time. Do you remember? And this is great, because if we compare that scene to now, to what we are now, those words were so useful to Mikasa at that time. But we will talk about it later. Um, so I think that even John is the same as Hanji right now. And that's why John later is answering what he is answering to her, because he's feeling the same. He feels that even Hanji can understand him, because even Hanji, as much as John tried to escape from reality, in the case of John, by dreaming what he was dreaming. In the case of Hanji, when she was trying to escape with Levi in the forest by saying, Levi, let's live together here. It's better to stay here at this point. And also, John has in common with Hanji the same feeling of frustration, because both they are going against a friend. They have something in common also, because no matter the fact that Hanji is the commander of the Chosahedan, he was a member of a Chosahedan, so he's understanding how she feels. And they also have in common the fact that Hanji has lost dear friends, as much as John lost a dear friend. So John and Hanji have many things in common, especially in these episodes. And it's so good to see that now the position in which they are in this hierarchy means nothing. I mean, no matter if you are a superior, I mean, no matter if you are a commander, no matter if you are inferior, no matter if you are just a member of the Shosahedan, they have many things in common. And here you understand that at the end of the day, no matter if you are a superior or not, you are always a human being with a fragility, with a responsibility, with um, regrets, with um, revengeful thoughts, with duties to fulfill, and to go ahead with the principles you decided to swear those days in which you were devoting your heart. So yeah, I think that John is similar to Hanji too, because at that time John too is confronting the soul of Marco. Also, John feels observed by Marco in all decisions he's making. And so it's not just the Hanji who is observed in her opinion, but even John feels that he is still observed, and he is observed by that person, the one and only person who believed in him, who thought that he deserved to be somebody great because of what this person saw in John. So I think that John is saying mm, something really great at the end of this scene. But I'm reaching that moment. Before that, I still wanted to say what Hanji is saying to John and Mikas at that time, because she's saying that many of them, many of these comrades who died, didn't know the truth. They died even before knowing the truth, and this is something evident. And Erwin was one of these people. I mean, even Erwin died before reaching the basement, before reaching the truth. But she's saying that even if they didn't know the truth, they would have never gone against humanity for the sake of the island if they knew the truth. Because, of course, at that time, the people who lost their lives as a Chosahedan, they thought that humanity was just inside the walls. But if they knew the truth, in her opinion. If even Erwin knew the truth after the basement, he would have never said that what Eren was doing was right. He would have gone against it, maybe because of the principles of Chosahedan. That means to save humanity against, I mean, against the terror. I mean, to save humanity from the terror. So, no matter if humanity is confined inside the walls only from their perspective or not, no matter if humanity goes even beyond the walls, Hanji is making you understand that Erwin would have chosen to protect humanity in general, or that all the other members of Chosahedan they would have preferred to protect humanity instead of just a few part of humanity. That means paradise only. So this is a great statement because it makes you understand that what they are doing now is coherent, is not incoherent if they are following what they swore. By swearing their hearts, by devoting their hearts to save humanity, they can't do the contrary now just because Eren is starting the rumbling. It would have been incoherent for them following the principles of what they have done so far, to stay next to Eren and to kill humanity entirely. It would have meant to go against themselves, to go against the existence that was persisting, going ahead throughout years, and was going ahead, and it was going even against their duties. So, what Hanji and all the others are doing, no matter if they are sharing these moments with the traders, it's not that the problem. All of them have a mission, and no matter the fellows they have, no matter if they try to join a team, all of them they are just following their missions. So no matter who's going to help them, the most important thing for them is to reach the goal. And if they can reach it thanks to what they were enemies before, it's okay because they have some things in common and some other things they are not in common. But you need to remember that human beings wanted to put as a priority their thoughts, their desires first, their wishes first, and then all the others are coming. We are all creating priorities in our mind, always. We can't say that we judge people the same because it's not true. I told you many times. We all put the tags of priority as if we are going to the airport that they put the priority tag on our luggage. The same. Human beings are the same. We also put tags of priority on what we want to do, on our desires, on our wishes, on our goals first. Then, if someone can help us to reach those goals, okay. But what matters the most to us is the goal that has to be reached. So I don't blame Hanji, Levi, who wanted to join Megath, Peak, Annie, Reiner, no, because they have a mission to fulfill, especially Levi. So we can't blame them. Mm, And then, of course, Hanji is saying we have to stop this genocide now. And of course, in that moment, they were showing us Mike and Erwin because both of them they had great intentions to save humanity, and because both of them sacrificed their lives to secure humanity somehow, to let this humanity be safe and sound at that time without knowing the truth. But now she can't avoid the truth. I mean, Hanji right now can't still think about the walls only as as a commander of Chosahedan. Hanji is a step forward than Erwin, than Mika, because she knows now the truth and she can't avoid it anymore. I mean, she can't go back and say, no, 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 no look, I faked not to listen. I mean, I'm not hearing, I'm not seeing what happened, I not see the fact that there is a humanity outside the walls, I don't consider them a humanity. I considered them as something else. No, she would do the same mistakes as the rest of the world is doing with them by judging them as devils. So Hanji is even more intelligent than the rest of the world. Because if she would have considered just the people inside the walls by condemning the rest of humanity, she would have considered humanity in another way, as much as the rest of the world is condemned in paradise by not calling them human beings, but by calling them devils. So Hanji is even more intelligent. Hanji has to be praised because she's doing what the rest of the world has never done to them before. She's ready to sacrifice her life also for the rest of the world, humanity. And this is something that goes even beyond what the rest of the world wants to do to them. So we have to praise Hanji because of this. And of course, when she's saying we have to stop the genocide now, even if this means, let's say, to sacrifice a dear person of us, as much as what happened with Mika, as much as what happened with Erwin, both they were important people to them, but they were sacrificed for the sake of humanity. Hanji is repeating this sentence. No matter if we have to sacrifice somebody important to us, and yeah, I want to remark this to Hanji, Eren was and is still important. He's a great friend. And also for her, it's pretty painful to start a project in which they have to stop him. Don't think that Hanji is taking everything like this. Yeah, let's stop Eren. Who cares? No, no, not at all. Um, but I remember, yeah, this moment because she was saying the same thing in season 3, part 2. If you remember, when they were choosing between Erwin and Armin, and she was stopping, Hanji was stopping Mikasa by saying the same thing, actually. She was saying, I saw many comrades of mine dying, and I also lost dear people. And I know it's pretty painful. I know. Yeah, this was already an anticipation of what's happening later because even Mikasa will have a hard task because she has to kill as much as at that time Levi had the responsibility to automatically kill one of them, or Armin or Erwin, because he had to choose. So also Mikasa will confront this choice she has to make to kill him or not. Of course, she will kill him, but the thoughts that are anticipating this moment are pretty deep, and we have to analyze Mikasa also from that point of view. But Hanji understands Mikasa more than others, definitely, because Hanji so many times people dying in front of her, people who were friends, as much as Levi can understand Mikasa so well, because even Levi, so many people who he really cared of dying in front of his eyes. So I think Hanji and Levi are the people who understand Mikasa the most, to be honest. Mm, even John, yeah, can understand Mikasa so well. I think all of them can understand Mikasa so well, but yeah, what Mikasa is going to do is something that other people didn't experience so far. Hanji didn't have to kill. Yeah, maybe only Levi. Yeah, Levi is understanding Mikasa 100% because Levi had to kill his comrades in the forest, and those comrades were people who were spending time with him over and over again. Um, but yeah, no, wait. Even John, Armin, Connie understand Mikasa so well because they killed the pixies. So even if definitely what Mikasa has to do is something that, if we think about, Nobody experienced. That means to kill a member of your family like this. Oh, yeah, maybe only Grisha, only Eren understands this at this point, because Eren had to kill his dad, even if he was not conscious. But yeah, I think nobody can understand Mikasa's pain. No. But anyway, we are reaching what John is telling to Angie, because John is saying, I'm still a member of Chosa Hedan. Standing ovation for John. Yes, because after everything that Hanji told him, and after understanding that Hanji is so similar to him because she's experiencing the same torment, the same trauma, and after understanding John that he can't avoid reality, he can't skip it, he has to face it, because at that time, that day, he was swearing, he was devoting his heart to those principles, so he can't go against it, he can't redeem himself from doing what he is supposed to do, no matter if these can shake his life forever, no matter if these can shake this tranquility, this stillness that in his dream he was creating. Reality is something else, and he is living in reality, not inside his dream. So he has to face his reality by being still a member of Chosa Hedan, especially after he saw Marco's face, after he think that he is observed by that presence, by that promise he made to Marco to become a great commander. To the fact that Marco was sure that he could have been a great commander one day. Yeah, so, and all this is happening before Flock is trying to kill Yelena and Onyankopon. You need to understand this time skip for a second, because after the title of the episode, Night of the End, that is a great title, we go to the scene of a fire. Okay, I mean, they are all together. They are making this sort of a circle. I'm going to analyze it later, but let's talk about this moment in particular. They are waiting to eat. But anyway, we are seeing all these characters in front of a fire. No matter if there is a pot in which Hanji is creating the stew or not, but it's like as if they are all confronting themselves in front of a fire. You know that the fireplace, or anyway, the moment in which you are surrounding a fire, even when you are going camping, when you are a boy scout, when you are, I mean, when you are recreating this scenery, or when even you see many other stories, the same context in which there are some characters in which they are immersed in this setting in which they have the fire in the middle. I mean, this fire that is in the middle, not in the middle, but the fact that these characters are surrounded by this context, usually you know that when you are in front of a fire together with other people, you are there to narrate something about yourself. You are there to share experiences. You are there to tell thoughts. You are there to confront yourself with others. You're going to spill out something that other people don't know. So I really love the choice of the author to put them in front of that context, because it's pretty meaningful. You saw these in many other stories. Every time there are characters in front of a fire, or in a circle, etc., etc., they always talk, they always share, they always communicate. So the fire that is used as a tool, as a connector between characters, the tool that can help characters to scroll from their shoulders these heaviness that they have. This was so great. Good job, Isayama. You are using these symbols, you're using the setting on your side to tell your story, and this is pretty amazing. And everything has a context, is in the forest. You don't have to forget this because throughout the episode, yeah, people were even complaining because because we were seeing the forest while they were talking. This is so meaningful, and I'm going to tell you later. But you don't have to forget the setting. The setting is the forest, the same setting that was discussed throughout all these episodes, and it's meaningful. I wanted to thank the scenography of this episode because they made it. They centered the point. And if fans are complaining, it's just because, let me tell you, they don't understand. They don't even want to dig this story to be understood. And this is a shame. I mean, it's a waste, unfortunately. Okay, now we are seeing some debates. I mean, it's time to talk. And you see these characters who are confronting themselves because they don't have anything else to do. I mean, they are over there, they can't stay in silence forever. It's pointless. Everything should start from a sentence. Everything can and should start as a way to start the rest of the discussions. And yeah, Magath is starting by saying, do you want to eat with us after we killed each other? Um, if you and then he is going to provoke them more and more because I wrote the sentences so I remember the connection. But anyway, if you let Eren do everything that he is doing, you're going to fulfill your goals. You're going to create the world you want, a paradise for the devils on the island, of the island, sorry. Wow, this is already a great oxymoron. If you know in poetry, you use oxymorons to put two words that are a contrast, that are creating an opposite. So the paradise created for the devils of the island. These oxymorons is intense. And Megath is a great character because he knows the words to be used. I mean, he knows the words that have to be used in order to provoke others. He also was chosen, in my opinion, to start this discussion because he knows how to create this difference between Marlians and Eldians. So I think Magath was really useful here in this episode. And anyway, Hanji is stopping him already because she wants to remark their will. That means we don't want to create the genocide. We are against it, general. When she's saying general, we are against the genocide. I like the way in which Hanji is ironically speaking, trying to express her thoughts. Sincerely, yeah, I think without Hanji, even this story would have been different. We need characters like a Hanji, especially in this moment, because she was like a mediator. I mean, she was like a way to stay in the middle so she could manage the situation most of the times. And in order to be a mediator, I mean, in order to have this figure that is in the middle that can manage the discussions, we need an intelligent person. And Hanji is an intelligent person. Nobody else could have done it better than her. And then Magath is keeping going ahead because he's saying, "Oh, so you finally understood where justice is standing? I mean, do you understand the side of justice finally?" That was hard because now John is interrupting him. I mean, it's like as if John can't handle it anymore. He's exploding, okay? And he's saying, "You are talking about justice?" And here we are starting seeing a discussion based on everyone is thinking about his or her own reasons. I mean, everyone is trying to defend his or her point of view till the end of time. So there is no match because everyone is saying no 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 is never ending, right? And it's everything that happened so far in this story throughout years, centuries, thousands of years, and in fact, later we are reaching history too. But before that, I want to say that when I'm saying this, I mean, when I'm saying that everyone is trying to have the right by saying that the other one is wrong, this is the principle, another thing of the essence as a human being, because we also want to be right. We also pretend to think that what we think is absolute, that is totally correct, that everything that the other people are saying is wrong. This is another thing that is happening in our real life too. There are people who are deeply convinced of what they say. They and they can't stand if other people think something different. This is realistic. This is how we are. So even in this episode, you see this. They are confronting themselves by pretending to think that what they are thinking is right and what the other one is thinking is wrong. And that's why the discussion is created, and this is how the forest is growing too. But this is what I was talking to you about, the priority that everyone is having. Everyone is preferring to fulfill their priorities first, and then the others are coming. And everybody in this discussion, John versus Magath, both of them are seeing things from their perspective only. And this is the way in which they are wrong, because I mean both of them, they are wrong. They are seeing things from their perspective, analyzing things they know because everything was transmitted like this, thanks to books, thanks to people, thanks to the generations that they were transmitting info after info, etc., etc. So both um, both of their thoughts are conveyed thanks to their experiences, direct experiences, thanks to indirect experiences that are even the most terrible. Because if you develop one thought based on what the other people are telling you, or if you are basing your thoughts thanks to what you have read in books or based on events that you didn't experience, those thoughts had to be taken not as taken for granted, but taken as okay, this is an indirect experience. But the mistake here both Magath and John are making is that they are taking they're they are basing their thoughts thanks to what they have heard, thanks to what I have listened, thanks to what they have read. And this is wrong. I mean, especially Magath, when he's starting saying about history, everything that happened 2,000 years before, 2,000 years of history. Yeah, Magath, you can take history as an example, but you were not there 2,000 years before. I mean, you were not there, so you can't talk about it. No matter if it's right or wrong what you say, it's pointless for you to go ahead or to install in other people's mind, in other new generations' mind, these thoughts based on something you were not there, based on something that you can't confirm by yourself because you were not there. So, this is the worst thing to do. Every time new generations should live their experiences based on what they are living in their time, based on the present time, and not to take on their shoulders everything that was happening before their own existence, because it's not counting. I mean, if you were not born, you shouldn't perpetrate the things that other people did before you, because it was not part of you. It was not something regarding you. So everything should be erased automatically or not to be forgotten. That is something else. I mean, if you don't forget what happened, but you go ahead with the present time, is one thing. But if you don't remember and you think that it's right to base your actions on things that don't have to be forgotten, that's the risk that you're making by doing something wrong. John is expressing his opinions based not only on history but based on his present experiences. I mean, he is taking the side of Eren. Yeah, I wanted to say this over and over again. Throughout this season 4, John is changing a lot, especially after that sunset scene in which they were all together, in which he heard from Eren that he was an important person to him. And after he heard those words, John changed towards Eren. I mean, you see that in this season 4, especially in part 2, he's defending Eren a lot. He's defending Eren when everyone is thinking, I mean, especially Connie was thinking that Eren was a traitor. John was saying, no, he is not saying those things without a purpose. He is not the Eren we know if he says something like this. So there has to be a reason. That was the first time he was standing on Eren's side. And then when they chose to stay on Eren's side, in the moment in which Eren is running in order to reach Zeke, at that time too, John prefers to stay on Eren's side. And even here, because Eren, even in this episode, first with Hanji, when John is taking Eren's side by saying that he started the rumbling, otherwise they didn't have another choice. Or even now against the Magath, he is staying on Eren's side because he's saying, look, if you didn't attack or if you didn't kill his mom, right now Eren would have been different. Yes, I really like the way in which John is protecting Eren, even if Eren doesn't need to be protected by somebody because he's already strong enough. But I like that he is protecting the same person he was going against to in the previous seasons because of love, because of other things, or also because John also confirmed this. He could see in Eren what he was not. I mean, he was envious of Eren because Eren had always the courage to go ahead, to pursue with his mission, to not be afraid to go against the Titans. He wanted to control the Titans. He wanted to kill all the Titans, and he was not afraid to do so. While John, we know that in the first season, he is condemning Eren. He is going against Eren because he is a little bit coward. But now John is showing us a different side of his personality, and he's protecting Eren in these moments. This is hilarious, but this is so beautiful. Because after all these previous seasons in which you see that John is going against Eren for many reasons, right now he is the only one who's taking his side. And wow, we have never expected this. So everyone is taking his own reasons on his side by condemning the other one. Everyone is seeing everything from his or her own perspective. And anyone is seeing things or is saying that he is right instead of the other one that is wrong based on what they have never experienced before, because they are both thinking about history, they are both thinking about what happened 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 100 years ago, Guys, you were not there. So it's pointless that you talk about the things that you can't confirm, that you can't experience, that you didn't live. It's better if you start changing things from the present time, from the moment in which you can experience the things. Because it's from this moment, from this time, that you can judge what was good and what was right and what was wrong. You can't be presumptuous enough, as much as Grisha was, to think that what was written in the books were totally right, that everything that you saw, that everything that you have heard from the previous generation was right automatically just because your mother said it. Okay, let's take it for granted. Let's say that it's correct just because my mother told me so. No, because it was just a transmission from a generation to the other one, and we know that already. And in that moment, when they are talking about history, when they are talking about when Magath is saying you have to pay for everything you did for 2,000 years, etc., they are showing us Gabi and Falco, of course, because Gabi was the one who was saying the same things Magath is saying, but there is a difference. Gabi is a teenager. Gabi was indoctrinated, and Gabi, even Magath was indoctrinated by the previous generation, of course, but Magath is an adult. So even if he's saying the same things Gabi is saying, we can excuse Gabi a little bit because she's a child. I mean, she's a teenager. But what about Megadeth? Megadeth had many years to think about this. Megadeth could have thought by becoming an adult that what he was doing was something wrong, but at the same time, he couldn't do so because he was staying on that side. Because by staying on that side, it meant to be indoctrinated whatsoever by the previous generations, and he couldn't admit, he couldn't accept another option, as much as Gabi didn't accept another option until she was living directly with that experience, until she was living in that specific context, in contact with these specific people, in order to create experience. So you will see that Megadeth is changing because at the beginning of this episode, he is perpetrating by fulfilling his thoughts and by saying that his thoughts are great and those other thoughts of these paradise people are wrong. But the more we go on, the more he will understand, the more he will develop this change of thoughts in his mind. By what? By creating an experience based on clear facts, because he can see these facts. These facts are not based on books. These facts are not based on what happened 2,000 years before. Those facts are based on what's happening now, in this moment, together with the other ones. So this is totally different. And Hanji is interrupting in this moment because she's saying everything that I told you so far. That means people who are talking without living an experience, a direct experience, they have already lost in advance. I mean, you can't go against the people like this just because you are spreading the things that other people told you to believe. You can only express your opinions based on experiences, direct experiences, because it's in that moment that you can feel what you experience, and you can base your opinion on this. So if you are talking about something you have not experienced, if you talk about something that you have read only, your opinion can be half correct. It can't be 100% correct because, yeah, you have already lost in advance by saying that everything you say is right without experiencing it. And then Hanji, ironically speaking, is telling Jan, oh, look, Jan, Megadeth is just perplexed. I mean, he is just confused right now because of everything that is happening. I mean, she is saying this ironically speaking, but she's totally true because even Megadeth now he is experiencing the same disillusion that Gabi was having previously. I mean, he is also confronting these people that are not devils. He is confronting these people who have suffered too, as much as they suffered, and he's eating with them something that he has never imagined in his life, because as much as Gabi was saying previously in the previous episodes of this season, even Gabi was saying, I will never eat with them. But then, by getting in touch with them, she was eating with them. She was understanding them. So Magath is confronting himself in the same situation. I mean, in the same thing Gabi had to confront herself. He is having this process of disillusion, something that he has never imagined before, to get in touch with those who were considered devils, and that's why he's not accepting at the beginning this confrontation, this discussion with John, because it's what happened to Gabi when she was confronting Kaya. Is the same. Now it's Megath's turn to accept, to understand that everything that was spreaded was nonsense, was just a division of a humanity that was not supposed to be, because they are all equal, they are all the same. All of them suffer, all of them they want revenges, all of them experience the death of comrades, all of them want to protect the people they love. So Magath right now is having a vision of things that at the beginning is quite unacceptable. But the more we go on with this episode, the more even Magath is confronting his feelings with these people who were considered devils. So this is great because we are recreating the loop once again of another person who is disillusioned. And this is amazing. Isayama is creating this scene in the forest in which there is the disillusion once again. Amazing. And then Hanji is saying, yeah, what I already expressed to you some minutes ago, because she's saying, we are not ignorant as before, so we can't go back. Yeah, this is true. Hanji said something really amazing here. We are not ignorant anymore. And this is an advantage for Paradise people, because they who were supposed to be Paradise people, I mean Hanji, Levi, Jan, Connie, Mika, Sarmin, all these people have an advantage that the rest of the world don't have, because they are not ignorant as before. They understand the truth, but even by understanding the truth, they wanted to change the story, because we know that Yumiro no Tami were used by Eldians, pure Eldians, to contrast Marley. But Megath doesn't understand what happened 2,000 years before. I mean, Megath doesn't make a difference between Eldians and Yumiro no Tami, or anyway, Eldians and Yumiro or Ymir. This is a great difference that has to be done. But Megath, of course, doesn't know what we saw. I mean, he doesn't know the Ymir's background story, because if he knew that, he would have made a difference. I mean, when he also was saying that Eldians were attacking Marley, yeah, but who are those Eldians? Eldians were the tribe of King Fritz, who was using Ymir as a titan to confront Marley, to attack Marley. But this is something else. From a Megath's point of view, it means that Yumiro no Tami, they are Eldians, that means the same as that tribe who attacked Marley. No! See, when you don't know things in details, it's pointless what you say, because you can say something correct, but also something really wrong. So Hanji, by saying that they are not ignorant, they are even better than the rest of the world. They have this advantage because they know that they were somehow culprits, let's say, because they in the past they were attacking Marley, but now they wanted to save even Marley. I mean, they wanted to change the story once for all. They wanted to interrupt this loop on their way, in their way, because Eren interrupted the loop by by asking Grisha to kill the Race family, right? And it was already an interruption of the loop. But right now, Hanji and all the others from Paradise, they wanted to interrupt this loop by let the rest of the world understanding that they don't want to harm them, they wanted to save them. That is even something more beautiful than what it was done so far. They are making a difference. I mean, these people, Hanji, Levi, and all the others from Paradise, they are making a difference because for the first time in history, yeah, finally, Yumi no Notami, I mean, the descendants of Ymir, that is also taking a part of the Eldian side, they want to change the story. They wanted to change history by saving the same people who are going to condemn them. That is, wow. The ignorance was taking them to confront, to contrast the people coming from outside of the world. But now that they are not ignorant anymore and they have intelligence on their side, everything can change for real. And everything can let them understand that everything they did so far is meaningless. Is not taking them anywhere. So there has to be a change now or never. Um, it's pointless, and as a consequence, it's pointless to keep creating divisions when at the end of the day, all of them they have things in common. All of them are human beings. All of them have the same needed to have the same rights because they are experiencing more or less the same things from both the sides, from different sides, but the consequences are the same. So we can't perpetrate divisions based on what happened in the past, based on the past actions. That those past actions are keep creating present consequences that are going to go ahead until somebody is going to stop it. And that's why these people coming from Paradise who wanted to stop everything by rescuing the rest of the world is an interruption of the loop. And this is super amazing. We need to find something to stop the loop. Otherwise, we keep failing. And it's something incoherent with what the author wants to express. And then this discussion is interrupted. So you see John that goes on one side, Megadeth that is moving on the other side. But once again, this was pretty useful because they are not using weapons, they are using words instead. And even if that discussion is gone because it's interrupted like that, there is no attack from both sides. Everyone can stay with their own opinions without fighting. This is already a solution that they found. Because usually, if one was against the other one, the solution was to use violence. But here is stopped over there, so it's already a step forward, don't you think? And we are still in the forest. Then we go ahead because Annie is saying, "Are you able to kill him?" At this point, a question like this. I mean, Annie finally is putting in front of everyone coming from Paradise the evidence of what can happen. So I really like Annie because she is pretty logical too, and she is not afraid to say how the things can go. I mean, she is saying to everyone, especially to me, Mikasa, that there is even this chance. I mean, even if you avoid it in your mind, and if you try to escape from it, from this option, as much as John was doing with his dream, even Mikasa is doing something like this. I mean, it's like as if she is closing her ears as soon as she's hearing this possibility. But unfortunately, we understand from this episode in particular that we have to face reality. I mean, no matter if it's cruel or not, we have to face it. We can't escape. And Hanji and John already understood this. I mean, already made us understand that this is what has to be done. But anyway, Mikasa is not accepting this as an option. In fact, she's saying, no, I don't think that killing him is the only way. Because there is still that hope that I told you before. So, of course, Mikasa can't say, yes, I take it for granted the case in which I have to kill him. No, you will never hear things from Mikasa like this because we needed to understand that Mikasa thinks about Eren as a family. So how is it possible that it's so easy that we can take it like this, as if nothing happens? The fact that we have to kill a family member. Nobody of us would have reacted in this way. I mean, I think that all of us would have preferred to find another way instead of reaching that final and only option, right? And in fact, Danny is saying, I knew that you were saying something like this. So, are you going to persuade him? Do you think that is so simple to do something like this? I mean, Annie is still coherent with her thought. And let me tell you, at this point, Annie, let's say that when it's convenient for you and for your feelings, everyone should understand you, okay? I mean, if it's regarding, this is another important message that the author wants to convey. When we have to judge other people's conditions, this is so easy to do because it's not regarding us, it's regarding the people we have in front of us. So it's even more easy to judge because we are not included in that situation. But when we are included in our situation, we hope that our people are understanding us. So this is creating a great incoherence in a human being's mind, but that's how human beings are. They are incoherent, definitely. And this is one example. I mean, Annie is going ahead, provoking Mikasa by saying all these sentences. But yeah, Annie, it's easy for you to say things like this because it's not regarding you right now. You are attacking a person who is supposed to kill a family member. What about you? If they are asking you to kill your father, would you take it so easily like this? I don't think so. But it's not regarding her right now. It's regarding Eren. It's regarding Mikasa. Do you understand what I mean? But then she is pretty coherent with her thought. So I really like Annie because she keeps going ahead with what she's thinking. And it's coherent anyway, because she's saying, do you think that it's so simple to convince him to stop like this? I mean, after all the things that he created and after all the mess he developed, do you think that just because you tell him Eren stop, he will stop? No, right? And of course, there is a silence on the other side because they know. I mean, they know. Especially Mikasa knows Eren very well. So she knows that it's pretty impossible to talk to him and stop him. She knows, I mean, Mikasa was the one and only, to be honest, to accept what Eren was. I mean, no matter if it was painful for her, she knew that Eren would have moved forward because that's his instinct. She tried to stop him when they were kids to join the Chosahedan, but she knew and she saw that it was impossible for him to do so. I mean, that it was impossible for her to stop him. So Mikasa knows that she will never be able to stop Eren with words. But it's also a way to convince her, thanks to this hope, that she can do it, because even if she knows that it's impossible, she is still convinced that there is still hope. And especially when you know that you're hopeless and there is no other solution, you still believe that, look, hope is the last thing that can die, we say. So That's why Mikasa is reacting like this. But definitely, she knows already that it's impossible for her to stop Eren and text to words only. She knows. But Armin, who is blushing a little bit, because Armin is in a hard situation right now. On one side, he has his best friend Mikasa, and on the other one, he has the person he loves. So, in the worst moment for him too. But Armin is saying, as always, because he's pretty diplomatic, we will never know until we try. That is the same sentence that Gabi said, actually. Do you remember? In some episodes ago, when she was begging Armin, Mikasa, and all the others to help them, to help her to find Falco, she was saying, why don't you ask Eren Yeager to stop all these? Until you ask, you will never know. Armin assimilate this in his mind. He learned from Gabi in this case, and in fact, he's repeating this over here right now to Annie. He's saying, "Until you ask, you'll never know." Thank you, Gabi, for this teaching. But Armin is in a hard situation, as I was telling you, because he is between the two women, and the two women he really cares about. So let's try to understand his position too. And then Annie is asking, okay, so if he is going to refuse to listen to you, what you're going to do? So as you can see, Annie is also thinking already of a plan B, because this is the result of what she is, what she became. She became a warrior. So you need to know that Annie has this sort of attitude because of what she became. By being a warrior, you always needed to find another option. You always needed to find a plan B, plan C, plan D. So while Mikasa is following most of the times her feelings, Annie is following rational thoughts, because she was supposed to be a warrior and she was learning how to become one since she was a child. So definitely she can't put the feelings first. She definitely has to put the strategy first, because that's how she's supposed to be. Um, and Annie is saying, if one, Yappari, she says, I imagine this, because if one of us, of Marley, is attacking him, I'm pretty sure that you're going to protect him. Isn't it right, Mikasa? I'm sure that you have never thought of something else more important, that can be more precious, that can be more important than Eren. And this actually was the sentence that made everything collapse, because Mikasa was deeply touched. She was hit directly thanks to these words. And as you can see, words can be great weapons sometimes. They can hit you more than real weapons. And this was a clear example, because Annie didn't use any weapon, didn't punch her, etc., etc. But it's like as if she really punched her in the stomach by using words instead. She really went straight to the point, and Mikasa was, let's say, defeated somehow. It was the first time in which you see Mikasa weak in front of an opponent, because in this case we are not using weapons, we are using the feelings. And in fact, Mikasa now is going berserk, because she's saying, "So it does this mean that you want to kill me?" Wow, I mean, this fight, the Mikasa and Annie, that everyone was waiting for, let's say, because since that moment of the training, we were always thinking, Ma, if Mikasa is going against Annie, who's going to win between the two? But at that time, they were using the legs, the arms. I mean, they were fighting physically speaking. But right now, here in this episode, everything is confronted, everything is handled by words. And it's the first time they are doing something like this. Instead of attacking each other, they are using words. And this is creating something that if they could have used the words before, guys, all this story would have never happened. So this is another great teaching that the author wants to tell us. If you use words in advance, you can save the situation. You will never reach the point in which you will say, if that day I used the words, that would have been better. No, if you use words, you can save, you can solve things. You can save the situation in advance, and you can prevent all these wars coming. Wow. Isayama in this episode is putting all these messages that have to be fulfilled, have to be reached. Otherwise, we miss the point of the story. So Mikasa is starting attacking her. I mean, not starting attacking her, but she's ready to fight. Because that's the only thing she knows. Mikasa, too, she knows this. She knows that when she is attacked, she has to defend herself. And once again, it seems that she's defending Eren, but that's not true. I mean, she is defending her feelings to Eren, her feelings for Eren. That is something else. She already stated that she's against Eren for what he's doing, but she can't deny her feelings now more than ever. So she is defending her feelings, herself right now, not Eren. And then Hanji and Megath are trying to stop them from both sides. And Annie is saying, I know. How do you feel? Yes, she knows very well because even Annie, as a person, she wants to protect. And even Annie knows how does it feel to feel impotent. I mean, to feel that she can't do anything to change things, especially in this moment. And she wants to prevent that dear person she has from dying. Annie is empathetic in this part of the scene because she is really understanding Mikasa about what she wanted to do to Mikasa is to let her understand even the other option, that she has to take for granted both options, not just the ones that it's convenient for her, and perpetrate it. She has to face even the other option, the inconvenient one, because it might happen. So she has to put in front of her eyes both options, even if one option can be so painful and hard to handle, but she has to put it into the consideration that it can be an option, something that Mikasa is not doing still, or at least she's trying to avoid that thought. But Annie is quite confident because she knows that now she wants to do everything she can to protect her dad, but that doesn't mean that can happen for real. I mean, Annie has already another type of mind, as I told you. So that's why she's already thinking about both options. And at the same time, she knows how Mikasa is feeling because by protecting Eren, it means that she passively agrees with what Eren is doing. No, because Mikasa already said that she is not agreeing. But this reminds me of Annie when she said, look, in order to protect the person I love, that means my father, I will never regret what I've done before. And if I could go back in time, I would have redone it. So Annie is also the person that is admitting, without a doubt, without a problem, that she would have also redone those things if that meant to protect the person she loves. So as you can see, Annie is honest. And once again, honesty, thanks to the dialogue, thanks to words, can change things for real. If you keep staying silent and if you keep avoiding the subjects, there is not a step forward. Things will never change. But if you talk, if you spread this dialogue, and if you try to admit to yourself your mistakes, everything you have done that is wrong, and if you accept the reality you're living in, then things can change. If you really want, the power of human beings is one and only one. The power to change things thanks to a dialogue. That makes us different from animals, actually, because we have reason, because we are able to talk, we are able to diffuse our message through words. But if you are behaving like this, I mean, if you perpetrate those actions without talking, without sitting and find a point in common, and they have more than one point in common, to be honest, then we are like animals, because we are preferring actions instead of words, and that doesn't make us so different from animals, actually. So this episode was pretty intense also because of this, because you understand that human beings have one super amazing superpower, call it a supernatural power, that means words. If we talk, we find lots of things in common, we can share them, we can find an agreement, and things can change. Because at the end of the day, no matter how different we are, no matter our different background story we come from, etc., 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 we always find at least one thing that we have in common. So by creating this thing in common, we can create a chain that is connecting us instead of dividing us. And that's the difference. So Annie is saying, if you can convince Eren, that's good. That's fine. Um, but at that time, they are showing us Mikasa's face as if she is already admitting to herself by knowing who Eren is, and by knowing Eren so well because she spent lots of years together with him, so she knows Eren more than anybody. She already knows that it will be impossible for him to be convinced by words. That nobody can go against his will because he prefers to move forward. So even if Mikasa is staying over there talking to him for hours, nothing is going to change. I open a bracket. Even Mikasa doesn't know the real power of the Shingeki no Kyojin. That means even Mikasa doesn't know that Eren saw some things from the future. Close the bracket. So for her, it's double impossible because Eren knows how this story is going ahead, so he will never be convinced anyway. But from Mikasa's perspective, she can't convince Eren because she already knows how Eren is. She already knows that every time she's trying to convince him, the answer is no, 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 no. So now, especially now, more than ever, can't be yes. Otherwise, it could have been yes so many multiple times before, but she always failed. So when Annie is saying, if you can convince Eren, that's great. And when they are showing us her eyes, you already understand that Mikasa knows that. She already knows the answer, but she doesn't want it to stop trying because, yeah, guys, there is always a hope in all of us. Even if sometimes we know the answer, we keep trying because the persistence we human beings have, it's a great advantage somehow. It's a great quality we have. But at the same time, we are creating an illusion on us. And this is the real problem because one day, sooner or later, Mikasa has to confront this. I mean, sooner or later, Mikasa knows that she will live without Eren. And that's why I think that this part two is essential for her to create this process in which she is confirming more and more. Look, dear Mikasa, one day you will live without Eren. How can you do this? How is it possible for you to go on living without him? Can you do it? If yes, how can you do it? She is starting thinking over and over and over again. Especially now that she can't spend the last years with Eren in peace, waiting the time limit that is finishing. So it's even worse. Then Hanji is a dun 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 is stopping even this dialogue, this conversation between the two, as if the match is finishing, as if we are in a kickboxing match, and dun, 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 the match is finished. So this was awesome too, because you see that thanks to these gestures, you see as if the author is planning inside this forest these are some matches that have to be done in order to create the hope in the future for something better. um, and then we are seeing these shot I mean these scenography of the forest. As you can see now more than ever, I'm explaining these for all the people who are complaining because there were lots of scenes of the forest while they are talking. You need to understand the importance of those scenes, because now that Hanji stopped the dun 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 dun, the match between Annie and Mikasa, you see that there is this way of shooting the forest that is going from the bottom to the top, like. And if you watch the forest from the bottom of it, you have the feeling as if the forest is pretty deep. I mean, you can't go out from the forest, right? And this is pretty meaningful because we all know the thoughts regarding the forest. So this is this way in which they are shooting the forest right now is pretty meaningful, because now this forest is seen in a different way. We are seeing things as if we are going up from it. And now the discussion between Anya and Mikasa is finished. So it's like as if they found the compromise, because Mikasa said Wakata at the end. And it's like as if this compromise could make the forest um, becoming not heavy as before, not uh, as if they were not immersed in the forest as before anymore, because we see this light of hope. We see, in fact, that by talking, this forest can be opened somehow, as if right now, little by little, they are decreasing this power of the forest that was created by themselves, actually. And things are getting better little by little. So this was really nice to see, definitely. Um, it's like as if by shooting the forest like this, they were telling you, look, thanks to the dialogue, you can eliminate this forest that human beings created before them. And it seems that they are it seems that they are finding the best thing to use in order to eliminate this forest. That means the dialogue. This is something great. And now Hanji is explaining that they are going to use the this boat that is flying, the that is this vehicle that they found thanks to the Azumabito. And in fact, Hanji, he's saying, we are going to use it in order to reach the founding titan. As you noticed, even in the previous episode, Hanji is not talking about Eren. I mean, every time she is talking about the founding titan, as if she also doesn't want to admit to herself that the founding titan right now is Eren, as if she doesn't even want to connect the two of them. I mean, it's like as if she wants to make a division. Eren is Eren, and the founding titan is the founding titan, as if she doesn't want to admit to herself that unfortunately they are the same thing. But I agree with Hanji, because I already told you this. The founding titan, that is the same entity that gave the power to Eren right now to transform, is not Eren, but is Ymir. So I like when Hanji is making this division, because I still believe that no matter how bad Eren is turning into, there is still, even if there is still a 5% of the Eren we know, that 5% matters. And even Hanji is taking care of that 5% because she knows that Eren is doing what he's doing just to protect them. So she's taking into account even that 5%. And that's why when she's talking about Eren, she prefers to call it the founding titan instead of Eren. I really like that too. Oh, and then we discovered that Megadeth saved Yelena as much as I was predicting already in the previous episode because she knows where Eren is going. She, thanks to Megadeth, we get in touch with the fact that Eren didn't know where to go once he was in the mainland. So Yelena was helping him somehow, maybe to direct him, maybe to tell him where to go in the case the rambling could have started. So you see once again the scenes of the forest, and you have to pay attention on these because while before, after Mikasa and Annie were talking, the forest was going. I mean, the way in which they were shooting the forest was going up, and it seemed okay. We found a compromise. We are going out of the forest, right? No, right now that we are talking about Yelena, the way in which they are shooting the forest, it seems as if we are going down to the deep forest once again. In fact, we know what's going to happen later. So, this forest that is connected with the character is essential. So, please, people, don't complain and try to analyze what you see because the forest is connected with the character's behavior in this episode. It's directly connected with what they are doing. When there is a resolution, I mean, when there is a solution of these discussions, the forest, you see that you're going almost out of the forest. When you see that that two people or more than two people are keeping discussing about something, the forest is becoming deep as before. So this theme of the forest is essential because the forest is the metaphor of discussions, of attackings, of wars, of um, being one against the other one, not finding a solution, not to find a compromise, finding a purposes to attack the others, etc., etc. So this scenography was simply amazing because it was reflecting everything that the characters were saying, their mood, their state of mind, etc., etc. So please don't make it as if it's something ridiculous or something that was I mean, a choice that was a pure mistake, because it was not. The scenography here was chosen for a reason, as always, as all the rest of the things. um and in fact, some other pieces of the puzzle are still missing because we still have to confront other discussions before thinking that now we are okay and we can cooperate. This is so important. And then Yelena is provoking them because, I mean, he's provoking Magath because he's saying, why do I have to help you? Because why do I have to help a Marlian like you? And then Magath is saying, because you also are a Marlian. And here we are discovering that Yelena is a Marlian since the beginning, and she was creating this fairy tale of the woman who was saved by the prince, that is Zeke. And the good thing is that Pico with the Megath, they were analyzing Yelena before the surprising attack of episode 16. They were collecting info about her. And she didn't expect that, of course. But she was pretending to be attacked by Marley, but she was an affiliate country of Marley, so she had an excuse at that time to get in touch with Zeke, etc., etc. We all know that. But look, I mean, Zeke was helped by a Marlian once again. I don't know if Zeke believed that story or if Zeke knew already that she was a Marlian. This would be interesting to ask Zeke. Did you know that Yelena was a Marlian? But anyway, we understand the background story of Yelena. And you understand once again that Yelena is a pretty fragile character. I mean, we saw her so with such an authority that she was pretending to do these things for the sake of her poor village and stuff like that. But the more we go on, the more we see how insecure she is, and this fragility that let her create all this story in her mind to be convinced also of the things that she was saying to find a purpose in life. I think Yelena really wanted this to have a purpose in life, to find a place in the world, to be recognized somehow. And this makes you understand how fragile she was actually, because if you are self-confident of yourself, you don't need a place to belong to. You don't need a place in the world. You don't need to remark that you have a place in the world. Okay. If you're self confident, you don't need this. You already know that by existing already, you have a place in the world. You don't have something to be attached to feel alive. Do you understand what I mean? So that makes you understand that even Yelena was a pretty fragile character at the end of the day. And in this episode, she's pretty useful instead. Look, I would have never expected her to say something like this. But Yelena was a great connector. She was the perfect character who could help the others to find something in common more than ever, to find a solution between this division, to create this chain of hope. And that was thanks to Yelena. Wow, we have never imagined. I mean, I think we anime only, we have never imagined something like this. And that's why this makes you understand once again that all characters are so meaningful, that you shouldn't create in your mind the fact that all the principal characters matters, because it's a thanks most of the times, it's a thanks to the thirdly, fourthly characters that the story can go ahead. And this is another example. So thank you, Elena, for what you're doing next, even if yeah, your purpose was something else, but at the end of the day, you helped those characters to find the way to approach themselves and to find this compromise. I open just a bracket really quick about Pick. Yeah, Pick has never liked the Yelena since the beginning. She was suspicious since the beginning, so you understand how strategical Pick is too, and that's why she's going along with Hanji, because they are two strategical minds in one. You understand that this cooperation can create something great, because we have two great minds here that are creating plans that can be really useful. I really like this combo, to be honest. I mean, I really like to see two strategical mind from both sides getting in touch with each other, and they can create great plans later. Let's see. I'm pretty curious about this too. And then Yelena is saying, all of you have this super exciting idea to save the world right now, while before you were one against the other one. That means, and it's a little bit coherent what she says actually. She is saying you're all hypocrite here, because now you pretended to save the world while a few minutes before you were attacking each other and you were killing lots of people. How is that supposed to be coherent? Yeah, I like this statement because actually it's true. I mean, um, it's true the fact that both sides made the same mistakes, but Yelena doesn't understand that after making a mistake, there is always the possibility to solve things or to change things. No matter if the lives of those people who were killed can never come back anymore, but the principle is always that. The principle is that First of all, listen who speaks, because even Yelena pretended to save the world after killing lots of people. And I know that she wanted to save the world by following Zeke's plan, but at the end of the day, by exterminate all aliens following Zeke's plan, at the end of the day, the rest of the world would have been saved. So anyway, it was a sort of a saving the world. But listen who speaks because she was killing lots of Marlians too. So incoherent, but I think she is well aware of her incoherence while she is condemning the incoherence of others. By Yelena, uh, Jan, by saving Onyankopon and you, give you the chance to change. I mean, now that you have a second chance, my dear Yelena, I think you should see life in a different way. And instead of condemning others for the fact that they made mistakes and they try to repair them, you too should think something like this, because in your life you made lots of mistakes too. You were convinced about the fact that Zeke was almighty while he was not. So I think that this second chance you had, thanks to Megadeth's decision, of course, but even thanks to John who saved you, it's propositive, because you can think about everything that is surrounding you right now, to but also to redeem yourself from your mistakes. You're still in time. It's never too late to redeem yourself from the mistakes you made. So, this is another thing that the author wants to convey to you, I think. Mm, in life, we all make mistakes. But the people who are going to redeem themselves from the mistakes they made and they are trying to repair those mistakes, are the people who deserve to survive at the end of the day. So I think that not just because Eren decided to save those people in paradise, but also because they themselves, Jan, Mika, Sarmin, Connie, they redeemed themselves from some mistakes they made in their life. They deserve to live as much as at this point. Look, I don't know if Reiner is going to die or not. Annie, I think she will survive because, yeah, we have even these fan girls for the fact that Armin loves her. So definitely she's going to survive. But I wonder if others are surviving, Peak, Annie, Reiner, let's hope. Um, I think that they can start all over again because they faced their mistakes, first to themselves and then in front of the people who lost their dear people because of them. So definitely this is a way to start all over again, and that's why they deserve to survive no matter Eren's decisions. Do you understand what I mean? So I think that the author wants to tell you that these people survived, and not just after Eren's death. I'm talking, they will survive, and not just because Eren chose this, but they will survive because they deserve to survive, because they, thanks to the experience they got and thanks to the mistakes they made, now they are better people, and now they can see things in a different way, especially because of the mistakes they made. um But when Yelena is saying, do you think that you're conscious? Let's translate what she says. Do you think that your conscience is clean just because now you redeem yourself? Of course not. I mean, I don't think that all these people involved in this meeting, let's call it like this, will never forget what they did. So I don't think that just because now they are trying to do something good after all the mistakes they made, they are automatically forgetting what they did in the past. No, it's a thanks to those remindings that they can change. Otherwise, they couldn't. They are not automatically erasing everything they did. They are just going ahead after knowing what they did. That is different. And then Yelena starts this journey of memories again. Is starting this journey of memories by announcing everyone's life and by analyzing their mistakes one after the other one, what they did, what they didn't do, etc., etc. And as a paradox, these action that she will make, I mean, the fact that she's going to analyze each of these characters' lives and their mistakes, this will be pretty helpful later. So, Yelena, I've never expected to say something like this to you, but thank you, because it's a thanks to you that they could find this compromise later. So, everything is useful, as you can see. And once again, here, weapons are not used so far. It's just words, but these words can be even more powerful than weapons. Remember this. And in fact, uh, thanks to Yelena, they are going to dig. They are going to face something that was not discussed before. They are ready to be honest face to face without hiding behind armor, behind a Titan's form, behind ODM, etc., etc. No, they are sitting, they are looking each other, they are facing the moment, they are expressing things that they have never talked about, and this is useful. No matter the result, this was anyway useful. So Yelena is talking about Reiner, Annie, Armin, all the others until she's reaching Jan. And then she is also saying Sasha was a really nice person. I can say it by myself. And as you can see, in the moment Yelena is talking about Sasha, you see the sky beyond the forest. It's so meaningful for two reasons. Maybe because Sasha was already out of the forest while she was still alive. The reason why I'm saying this is because Sasha didn't want to include kids in this war of the adults. Sasha was protecting Kaya as much as Sasha was defending Gabi because she was not shooting Gabi, she was shooting the guards, and the guards were adults. So, based on what Sasha's dad was saying regarding the forest and the fact that adults should be the first ones to avoid kids to go inside the forest, Sasha maybe was already out of this forest because she already understood that the new generations didn't have to pay for the mistakes of the adults. And by sparing Gabi at that time was already a sign of this teaching. Or option number two, now that she's gone, I mean, now that Sasha is dead, of course she's out of the forest. And of course, she's resting in peace because she found her freedom by going outside that forest. So when the scenography here is shooting the forest that is almost ending and there is the sky, okay, it's so meaningful because it means that at least Sasha went out of the forest or was starting going outside the forest before she was killed. But then, as soon as we hear Yelena saying this, and as soon as we see this going out of the forest, we go back inside of the forest once again. And how we go back inside of the forest is when they are showing us these big trunks of the trees that are multiple, and they are so one next to the other one, as if these trunk of the trees are representing these adults who are creating the forest more and more, who are cultivating this forest by generation and generation. And you know that the bigger the trunk of a tree is, the more, I mean, um, bigger is the age of that tree. So the more you see this big trunk of trees, the more you see as if this forest was perpetrated years after years, decades after decades. So this is so great because those trunk of trees right now, they are representing the old generations who were influencing the new ones, while then they are showing you even tiny branches, and those branches of these trees are referring to the new generations who can be contaminated by these trunks, by these trees that are already formed. And of course you think that what's coming after, I mean, this is the roots are the thousands of years before. The trunk of the trees are the older generations of now or the previous decades, and the branches, they are influenced by the trunk of a tree. So it means that those tiny branches you see in these episodes are all the new generations involved in this. And look at this is so meaningful. The moments in which you see the forest is so meaningful, let me tell you. And then when Yelena stopped talking, John pretends not to hear her. I mean, he's saying, "Oh, can I have another bowl of soup, please, Hanji?" I mean, he's avoiding what Yelena is saying at first, as if he's not taking care of what she said. But then, of course, he is provoking her because he's telling her, "Thank you for telling us all this. We didn't know it so far, etc., etc." Until Yelena is touching the weak point of John, because this is a typical way to counterattack if you just use words. I mean, when you are provoked or when you are mocked, you tend, as a human being, to use the weak point of the other one to counterattack somehow. And that's what Yelena is doing, actually. I mean, as soon as she's feeling mocked by John, she's using this skill. I mean, she's hitting John as a punch in the stomach by using words only, by using this weak point of John, that is Marco. And she's asking a precise sentence. Sorry, she's asking a precise question because she's saying, "Have you ever asked how Marco died and his conditions before dying?" And this, for the first time, is the discussion that we have always expected to hear one day. Because, I mean, I'm speaking for myself. I personally wanted to see one day John understanding how Marco died and what happened to him. I think that's somehow what John deserves to know, because by being his best friend, he really needed to know what happened to him without going on living. I mean, but without going on living without knowing this. I think John really needed to know what happened. It was his right to know. So at the beginning, it seems as if this discussion is cruel on him, but later I think that the more we go on, the more it was useful for him to accept his death for what really happened, because those things happened, so you can't avoid them, and you can't escape things that the John actually wants to do. I mean, even in this case, he prefers to escape. He prefers not to face this discussion because it's pretty painful. But John learns from this episode, as much as many other episodes before, that he needs to learn how to handle the pain he's going to feel by facing reality. Um, but anyway, this was the first time that they are discussing about this. I mean, something about something that has never discussed before, and this was pretty intense. And this is another chance, as much as what happened between Ani and Mikasa, between Megath and Jan, to spill out everything they have to say, now or never. Now they have the perfect chance to reveal the secrets they have, to scroll from the shoulders this heaviness, this heavy burden that they had to carry for lots of years. No matter if Annie was confined inside the cocoon, she could live inside the cocoon. So it's like as if those 4 years for her were still troublesome because she could feel that pain anyway. Mm, so Annie is confessing. She's saying everything that happened. And I think that after she's saying something like this, she will feel a little bit better because by hiding this secret, by hiding these feelings she felt, and by not revealing what happened, it was pretty heavy for her to go on living like this with these remorse. I mean, she will always have these remorse to have killed Marco, but one thing is to keep it inside yourself, and one thing is to extend it or to express it, to convey it somewhere anyway. And I think that can make a difference. Then Reiner, he's taking all the guilt as always because he knows that it was him convincing Annie, commanding Annie once again to do something that she didn't want. And now we know, I mean, analyzing the season 4, we know that Annie was forced even to attack Walmart. I mean, to be there when Reiner and Bertold attacked the Wall Maria because she actually wanted to go back to Marley, but Reiner insisted. So once again, even in that case of Marco, Annie was just a victim of Reiner's thoughts, of Reiner's convictions, because he was convincing Annie for one more time to do so. So, as you can see, Annie is a little bit fragile. No matter how rude she can be, after we discovered her background story, we know how fragile she can be. And that the fragility is just hidden by this shield that she was built throughout the years. But definitely, we know that the core of Annie is pretty sensitive, and we had the chance to see it here once again, as much as she's talking about Marco and everything that happened to him. Not because of her will, but because she was following what Reiner was saying. And the way in which Reiner is spilling out everything in details, in minimum details, by saying everything that happened, because now or never, now it's the time to be honest, 100%. So honest is the main theme of this episode too. Honesty is what can create a new step. If you're not honest, then there will always be the chance to fight. But if you keep using honesty, there is a chance to find points in common. There is a chance to find a compromise, even if it's pretty difficult to do so. But anyway, um, and in the meantime, yes, while they are spilling the tea about Marco and what happened to his death and how it happened, you see in the meantime this scenography that is showing us these branches over and over again that are creating branches that are even bigger and bigger and bigger. So the these setting that is reflecting what's happening, because we all know that the more Reiner is going into details, the more he is creating these vengeful thoughts, the more he's creating this pathos, this tension that is increasing all over again. But from Reiner's point of view, there is nothing to lose anymore. It's better to say everything because he knows that he has a time limit anyway. He has to die. So before dying, it's better that his soul has this moment of a redemption in which he can redeem himself from everything he has done. Now or never. And you see how Reiner is affected by this narration, even if years passed. No matter the years that have passed, he still feels guilty. He still feels as if he can't repair that mistake. And after they are spilling everything they had to say, there is a silence that is priceless. I mean, that silence speaks for everything. That silence already lets you understand how painful everything like this is, and how hard it is for everyone to listen, to say. Wow. And John then is saying, did Marco say something else? I mean, did he say any last word? The scenography is shooting, I mean, is showing us this opening in the forest, as if they are going ahead with this dialogue, and thanks to this dialogue that is going ahead, there is a way to go out from the forest. Simply amazing. And then, in fact, that way to focus on the forest reflects exactly what Marco said for the last time before dying. We didn't even have the chance still to talk about it. If you talk, you can go out from the forest. If you talk, you can find a way to create something as a bond. If you talk, you can create a chain of hope. If you don't talk, you go back to the forest. If you don't talk, if you don't want to listen, you create vengeful thoughts for nothing. You perpetrate this for decades. If you start listening, if you start accepting, even if it's hard, so hard, and if from that moment you don't repeat the same mistakes as before, you go out from the forest definitely. So, what Marco said is the key of everything. And once again, Marco is giving us, is donating us the key of all the story. With that sentence, if now we go back to that scene, if we could have known what's happening now, we would have known that Marco already found the solution of everything. That means that even if Marco discovered that Rainer, Bertold, and Annie they were traitors, he was always still ready over there to talk about it. So if Marco could have lived more, he could have solved things. He could have even influenced in the best way John, for example. So Marco was this inspiration that was lost, was this hope at that time that was lost. If he could have lived, maybe Reiner, Bertold, Annie, they could have admitted everything they have done. They could have discussed with Eren and all the others. And of course, Eren would have not accepted this because Eren is a pure instinct. But they could have avoided many deaths coming later, no matter Carla's death, but they could have avoided so many other problems coming later. And Reiner at that time, he, with all the others, they could have spilled all the tea. I mean, the story would have been different, but we are all sure that if Marco was there, they could have talked. At least they could have had the chance to talk and make something different. And then John in the background, while Reiner was saying something like this, he's thinking, yeah, that's why we killed each other. Yes, exactly. At the end of the day, you killed each other for nothing. I mean, one another for nothing because you were all the same, with the same thoughts based on your same experiences, with the same perspective at the end of the day. Because even if the perspective were different, the mission was always the same, to protect the dear people. So it was not something different. They had the same goals, the same perspectives, the same thoughts. They are all Yumiro no Tami except for Magath and Yelena or Onyankopon, but they are all Yumiro no Tami. The people now they are confronting right now, they are all the same. And they were killing each other for nothing because they are descending from the same part. And Hanji is saying it's never too late. Yes, it's true. It's never too late. Just because you, as a previous generations, let's say, you are already condemned because of all the crimes you committed, etc., etc. That doesn't mean that you don't have the power to change things for the new generations that are coming. That is already a step forward instead of creating, installing inside of their minds the same thoughts, blah, 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 the devil's in paradise, well, let's confront the rest of the world, let's attack them, let's attack them, let's attack them. Now, you can create something different based on your own experience, not based on the books and what happened 2,000 years before. You can help the new generations not repeating the same mistakes based on what you have lived. So now they have a huge task. They have to be ready to inform all the new generations coming that they don't have to do what they did, because as soon as they try to repeat what they did, they go back inside the forest. And what Niccolo said at that time is useful. We should keep going on trying, no matter how hard it is, to convince others to use their power to go outside the forest or to defend ourselves from the forest itself. And in fact, when Hanji is saying it's never too late, they are showing us the forest that is from the top, not from the bottom. And you see that they are creating a circle. I mean, there is this way to shoot everything from the top, in which you see that there is this circle that is all of them. And let me tell you, this circle is not a coincidence. This circle is representing the usual circle, the usual loop that it was created so far. But we know that after a few minutes, everything is changing because John is reacting. And because John is interrupting, thanks to the will of a punching Reiner, let's say, he's standing up and he is disrupting this circle. So automatically it's a way to interrupt the loop somehow. But at the same time, this circle, if you remember this, it reminds me the eye of Eren before, I mean, in the moment in which he is touching Zik with the head, and he is starting collecting, or to he's starting seeing these memories one after the other one. That eye that is blinking all over again, over and over again, you see that that eye has some lights around the pupil, right? And it seems the same circle that they are creating now, because it's like as if those people, in fact, over there were 9 lights inside the pupil of Eren's eye. And yeah, this is not a coincidence, I think, that even those lights inside of the pupil of Eren's eye, it's referring also to this moment, because in this moment they are creating a circle. They are all dear people to Eren, except for Yelena, Onyankopon, Megath, Peak. I mean, there are all these dear people of Eren who are trying their best to find a way. And I think Eren loves them also for this, because Eren doesn't have what they have. I mean, Eren is a pure instinct. Eren just cares about to go forward and without the consequences whatsoever. And he is missing the part that these dear people he loves have. That means rationalism, reason, the way to talk, the way to think more, the way to be empathetic, etc., etc. So I think that Eren loves those dear people he has, not just because he has his personal reasons to love them, just because he spent the time with them, etc., etc., but also because Eren knows that they have what he doesn't have. Then Reiner goes ahead with the narration of what happened, because he is also saying that immediately after, when Marco was being killed by the Titan, he had this moment in which he was going against the Titan, and he has to. You understand that to Reiner, they didn't have other questions to ask to him. I mean, nothing was asked anymore to him, but he preferred to go on with the narration because, as I was telling you, now or never, that's the proper moment to spill out everything that he could, because now he had the chance to be 100% honest with them. So he found this chance. But when Hanji was hearing what he was saying, she was perplexed. I mean, she was like, "What? What did you say? I mean, you felt guilty immediately after. That's something strange, right?" That is the same thing, the same attitude that Hanji is having. I mean, she felt perplexed even when Eren was saying "tatakai, tatakai." So, as you know, Hanji that is always surprised about the attitudes of human beings. While for the rest of her existence, she was keeping analyzing the Titans. She was thinking that Titans were strange, that Titans had to be analyzed because they were unknown and because she didn't have answers for them. But at the same time, she is realizing that even human beings are so strange, and in fact the Titans are coming from human beings. And that's why maybe Titans are strange too. But as you can see, Hanji feels strange to hear these things from people who have a reason on their side. She feels always so surprised about the people's reactions. So yeah, that was really interesting to detect too. And then the Reiner is saying, don't forgive me, please, because I am helpless." And I really like, once again, Reiner's honesty, because he knows everything bad that he has done. And he's not going away from it. He's confronting it. He is facing it now more than ever, especially in this season. Ooh, what a great character. And once again, the trauma that Reiner is having, that is the same trauma that he was having while confronting Eren. Because Eren too was putting himself in front of the reality. I mean, Reiner broke the walls at that time. Reiner caused his mother to die somehow. So anyway, Reiner is confronting the same moment in which, okay, at that time he was going under his knees. I mean, Reiner was bowing in front of Eren, and in this case, Reiner is sitting in front of John, and he can't do anything else rather than say, "Don't forgive me. I'm I'm well aware of what I did, and I feel so guilty for this." And in the meantime, you see the fire that is, as if you understand that the tension is increasing, because you see that this atmosphere is becoming heavier and heavier and heavier because of what Reiner is saying, because John that is saying, "Please stop, don't say anything else." Reiner that keeps going ahead. John keeps saying, "Please stop, I told you to stop," etc., etc. So this tension is raising more and more and more, and this fire that is, as if the flame is the flame of their consciousness, and the flame of this anger is increasing all over again. And then when John is hearing "I'm sorry" from Reiner, then he's exploding. We are still in the forest, and John found the proper moment to reverse all the anger he felt throughout the years, and he couldn't, he repressed, I mean, he compressed these anger throughout the years, and now he has to take it out from it, because he can't handle this anger anymore. He is becoming like a beast. And Reiner is not doing anything. He's not doing anything to prevent this. I mean, he's not defending himself. He's taking all the punches because he also thinks that he deserves those punches, actually. But also because he knows how guilty he is. He knows how John is feeling too. mm, he understands. He really, really understands what John is feeling. But John is not stopping. I mean, he is a fearful, punches are keeping going ahead, and even when other people are trying to stop him, it's impossible because he keeps going ahead, punching Reiner as if there's no other choice rather than do so. And let me tell you, I think John is angry not just because he lost a dear friend. John lost the one and only person who was believing in him at that time, if you remember. The one and only person who could encourage him to go ahead while nobody else couldn't. And he lost the person who was trusting John. I mean, he was a person, he was losing the one and only person who was trusting him so badly, who was having the confidence to believe that one day he could have become somebody great. So by punching Reiner, it's like as if he's punching the culprit of the, I mean, the guilty guy who killed his hope, his support at that time. And it's something that John can't forget because at that time he was confused. He didn't know where to go. He preferred to listen the voice inside his head. But yeah, let me say that even Marco's death, maybe, even if it's bad to say, but it was pretty useful because it's a thanks to Marco's death that John could have promised him to fulfill also his goal. That means not John's goal only, but even Marco's goal to join the Chosahedan and to fight for freedom, to fight to save humanity from terror. So, yeah, I think that John, as much as Armin, because look, John, there are a few cases in which he exploded, to be honest. I mean, he revealed his instinctive feelings. But throughout all these years, he compressed this anger. And as I was telling you, he was avoiding it. He was avoiding these feelings of anger, etc., etc. And the more you compress them, the more when there is the chance to let them go out, they explode. Okay. So John was punching Reiner, but at the same time, now more than ever, he was confronting this pain and this anger he had, and he was spitting it out. And Reiner was there, just a victim of all this. But actually, Reiner, in Reiner's opinion, he is not a victim. So for Reiner, is fine. Also because he can regenerate, he's a Titan. So it was not a big deal. And John knows also that he can regenerate. So it was just a way to, now that I know that I can't kill you, because John always thinks about this. He always thinks that if he can't kill people, it's even better. Because we saw this even with Falco when he missed the point. We saw it with Gabi when he wanted not to throw her from the Zeppelin. We saw it with Onyanko by sparing him, etc., etc. So even in this case, he knew that Reiner could regenerate the more he was punching him. And the fact that Reiner didn't transform, didn't got the chance to transform and kill him, makes you understand that Reiner didn't want to harm him at all. So this was pretty beautiful, let me tell you. And Gabi is protecting Reiner, no matter if even Gabi knows that he can regenerate, but Gabi is protecting Reiner. And what she's saying is so amazing. Look, Gabi evolved as a character as one of the best of this season. She's saying, I'm so sorry. We are sorry. We had the wish to exterminate all of you because we wanted to be accepted. We wanted to be forgiven. For this reason, we were hoping for the extinction of the devils. Now, she's not saying anymore, we wanted the extinctions of you devils. No, she is saying of the devils, as if she understood that already that thought is gone because she has changed her mind and she understood that they were not devils, they were just people. But now, she said, but now everything that we have done means that we are going to cause the death of our dear people. Yeah, because they were attacking Paradis and then Paradis rebelled. So now they are attacking the rest of, now Eren is attacking the rest of the world. So she's conscious of this action that is creating the consequence. But she's just a teenager. I mean, she's understanding things that Magath and all the others should have understood even before. Okay, that makes you understand how hopeful these new generations are, because they already understood the problems that the previous generations created and the things they don't want to repeat anymore. So this is a step forward, and this is why Gabi and Falco have to survive. Okay, Falco has a 13 years, but that's why Gabi has to survive, because she processed everything. She overcame all the troubles she made and all the mistakes she made. She's a step forward and she deserves to survive, because she can teach in the future the new generations coming. And this is so great. She has a great opportunity right now to change her existence forever, and she's handle it. She's grabbing it. But her rational thoughts are amazing. She's saying, look what we have done by attacking you. Now we are attacked. Yeah. And we are guilty because of this. Because if we didn't attack you, you were not rebelling on us. And now that our dear people were safe. Yes. Yes. And then Gabi is begging, and she is imploring the forgiveness from John, something that has never happened before. So here in this forest right now, you're seeing everything that has never happened before. I mean, even a person from the other side of the ocean begging Paradise people, no matter if she is an honorific Marlian or not, but she was coming from the other side of the ocean and she was attacking them. So the fact that now she's begging them, or she's begging in front of him, wow, standing ovation, because this has never happened. And this gesture is coming from a new generation girl that is so meaningful. And then but do you remember how Gabi was at the beginning of season 4? I am the best of the rest. I'm the most beautiful. I'm the most talented. I'm this. I'm the. You can't even recognize this change. Gabi evolved in the best way. And that can create still in us, all the generations, the hope that the new generations can still change the world, even in this world we are living. But then she's saying, I know that is something imprudent to ask you, but can you give us your help? Give us your strength. 力を貸してください. Do you remember this sentence? Eren said the same sentence to Ymir. Give me your power. Give me your strength. But Gabi is asking the help of people. Eren is asking the strength to this entity, to this founding titan for different purposes. Gabi wants to save the world. Eren wants to destroy the world. And both of them, anyway, they are asking the strength or the power they don't have to save the people they love, even if the context is totally different. But this is amazing. These sentences that keep being repeated over and over again in different contexts, and in which you can find these things in common between characters. And once again, it makes you understand that they are all the same at the end of the day. They are ready to beg. They are ready to do the impossible to save the people they love. No matter if it's Gabi, no matter if it's Eren. They are the same. And Falco is coming next to her to help her, imploring John the forgiveness, to ask him the help. Onegashimasu! Onegashimasu! This, onegashimasu! Cioè, I mean, John is, he can't say no, okay? But this onegashimasu, that is torturing him as if it's digging inside his heart, inside of his dream that he had at the beginning of the episode. What is onegashimasu, 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 as if it's like a torture that you can't escape from it. And those people who are begging in front of you are kids. How can you say no to kids? John has never said no to kids. Never. And those kids are the same kids he saved, because Falco was saved by him because the thunder spear was going on another direction, because if he wanted he could have sent it in front of Falco directly, but he decided to miss the point. Gabi was saved by him because she was not thrown from the zeppelin, and he decided to do so. So once again, now there are these kids who were saved by him, who are asking him for help. And how can he say no? It's impossible. It's impossible. And in fact, he's saying, Hanase, he's saying, leave me. Because, of course, he knows that he will never attack them. He will never attack kids, because John has this great sensitivity that no, he will never do something like this. And we know that John needs time to reflect. He needs time to think. He needs time to confront his own self. Look, I open a bracket. It's like when Eren is confronting his own self with the tatakai in front of the mirror. And when Hanji was trying to talk to him, Eren became like a beast because he was distracted by Hanji. He was trying to convince himself in front of the mirror, and Hanji was coming to distract him. So Eren became a beast. Like in this case, John needs to go away from everybody because he needs time. He needs time to think, and he needs to stay alone and not being distracted. Okay? If he has to make a final decision, he has to make it because he is choosing to make it. As much as Mikasa, after Annie's discussion, she was turning her back and she was saying Wakata, but she is doing this by herself, by thinking, by staying within herself for a second. So this is so important to see even the psychology of these characters, that they need time to rest, to think, to discuss within themselves what to do. It's so great. And Gabi is also saying, oh, it's not working. He will not help us. I mean, we passed from a person who wanted to kill the millions of, let's say, thousands and thousands of people without caring of their opinions. She was confronting Kaya by saying that their opinions don't matter because they are the devils. We have to destroy them. I really don't want to listen to them, etc., etc., etc. And now she is afraid that one of these person living in paradise is not listening to her. Did you see the evolution? She's even scared that he didn't want to listen to her. And the fact that it didn't work, her speech didn't work, she was afraid that John would have not helped them. Look, if it was the Gabi of before, she would have said, who cares if he doesn't want to help us? Let's go ahead no matter what. But now she understands the importance of interacting with other people. And even that the one person matters. If she can conquer even that one person with her heart and her feelings, she feels completed. And this is so great. I really like how Gabi is evolving right now, and you need to understand how useful a character like Gabi was for this story. If you keep hating her, even if hate is too much, sincerely, but if you keep disliking her, mm, look at. mm, at the beginning, I also didn't like her because of how presumptuous she was, but I was always hoping Gabi to reach this level, and the fact that she reached this level, I'm so happy for this. Yes. And then when Megadeth is seeing Gabi on the ground crying, etc., Megadeth that is trying to um, comfort her. But once again, he is retracting this hand immediately. It's the second time that is happening, to be honest. Even once when Gabi was found back in Paradise after this surprising attack from Marley, and Magath was hugging her instantly. But then immediately he's saying, Brown. I mean, you understand that even Magath has a sensitivity, especially in this episode. And look, the reason why he wants to comfort her somehow is it because definitely he feels guilty because he sent her to war as if it was a joke. Ah, go. Okay. Do you think that you can do it? Okay, go. This was something terrible, and now he feels guilty. As I was telling you, Magath at the beginning of this episode, he was reluctant. He was like a Gabi at the beginning. Okay, after all these episodes, he is experiencing the disillusion, and now Magath is reaching the point in which he feels so bad. He feels so guilty by seeing Gabi over there begging when he was supposed to beg instead. But this girl is begging also for him. So this is something incredible. And then he feels even so guilty because he was always so cold to kids throughout these years because the most important thing was to find the candidate. Yes, let's train them, blah, 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 without even taking care of the fact that they were kids. And in fact, he is seeing everything, even through Annie's experience. What he training him caused on Annie's mind because now Annie will always have the trauma of killing Marco without her will. And Annie reached that place because of Magath, because Magath sent them to war. So, as you can see, Magath now feels so terrible, and he should be actually. He should feel like this because that's what happened. But the fact that he's recognizing in front of real evidence, in front of what he did, and in front of all the people surrounding him, that's so great because this is the pure disillusion. This is a way to see reality in a different way. And by seeing John's pain, he could understand that even the devils in paradise can feel pain as much as them. He could understand that they are all the same, that they are just from two different divisions, but these divisions that have so many things in common. And yeah, as much as Reiner had the disillusion, as much as Gabi had the disillusion, as much as Falco had the disillusion, now it's Magath's turn together with the Peak because even Peak is over there listening. So that's great. The way in which these dialogues could change the mind of the people. Because at the beginning, Magath it was saying, "Oh, did you change your mind? And now did you stand on the justice side?" Now he's not thinking something like this anymore because he understood that that was not justice. It was just perpetrating something for nothing and for creating something even worse. And in fact, last but not least, I was saying this once again, he feels guilty because Gabi was not supposed to say sorry. He was supposed to say sorry. So he, by being a person from the old generation, put Gabi and all the other kids on war. That means the new generations. So when he is putting his hand like this on Gabi because he wants to comfort her, but then he's retracting, there is this contrast between what he was before and what he wants to do now. Does he prefer to follow his instinct to console Gabi, or prefers to go back at what he was before to be rude and stuff like that? There is this contrast starting inside his mind too. And of course, I hope and I'm pretty sure that it will prevail the instinct one. I mean, he will that inside his mind it will prevail the fact that he wants to console Gabi because he understood all his mistakes. But as you can see, this concept of the of Sasha's dead of the forest is still there because if we as adults can prevent the new generations to do something bad as much as we do, as much as we do and we did, the problem is solved. And then the Levi that is waking up saying, "Oh, Urusain, don't you remember something?" Sasha was saying the same thing in season 3, part 2, once she woke up because she was hearing arguing Armin, Levi, Mikasa, and Eren at that time because they were explaining why Armin was chosen instead of Erwin, etc. etc. These moments, Sasha that is still there somehow. This is also because it's her habitat. I mean, it's in the forest. She was always living over there in the forest. But the way in which Isayama, thanks to these sentences, can bring characters back, awesome, awesome. And in the meantime, after Levi is saying something like this, John is behind the trunk of the tree, one of the trunk of the tree, that is closing his ears because he's still don't want to stay in that circumstance and he wants to escape still, especially after the begging of these two kids asking for his help. I mean, he's still contrasting the voice he has inside his head that is taking the control on him and is taking, yeah, he is tempted. He's tempted him by saying, come on, stay here, you will have a great life, all the world will be destroyed, but who cares, etc., etc., etc. But, I mean, he doesn't want to give the proper listening to that voice. Um, but also the fact that John, by covering his ears even behind those trunks of trees, it's like as if I'm listening to Gabi and Falco saying onegaishimasu, 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 my life will change forever. There is no turning back. Now or never, I have to choose, but I don't want to choose because if I choose, he's still coward a little bit because if he chooses, he can't go back anymore. I mean, he has this life that is sure here, and now he has to choose between go to death or to secure his life and his position forever. Of course, it's a little bit risky to choose, but he has to. He can't avoid this choice. And Jan, the next day, he is waking up Gabi. And this is a great gesture he's making because he didn't listen to that voice. He decided to follow what he has to do because he has a responsibility and because of everything that was said at the beginning of this episode. He's still a member of Chosa Hedan, and the members of Chosa Hedan do their best to save humanity from terror, so he will be in the first row, in the first line. And the great thing is that now you see that it seems that we are out of the forest because everything is so clear. The sky is clearer than before. In fact, now it's day and it's not night. Night, the night that was used to think, to agree, to change things, and the day that is the moment of the action, the moment in which we have to correspond what we said with actions. But also this sky that is anticipating the dawn, that is so great because once again it makes you understand, like in the Connie's example of the previous episode, that once John chose, he cleared his mind once for all. There were no more insecurities because now the decision is made. And now that the decision has to go ahead in order to fulfill the goal he had chosen. So when the sky is clear, that is reflecting even the mind of the characters, that is reflecting even the fact that the mentality of this character now is clear and there is no more indecision. That's so great because even in the case of Connie, it happened the same thing. I mean, even in the Connie's case, there was lots of confusion, lots of anger, lots of vengeful thoughts, etc., etc., etc. But after what Armin did and after what happened in that circumstance, he cleared his mind, and even in that day, the sky was clearer on top of them, and they were looking at them as if those thoughts were reflecting the state of mind of the character. That was so great. I mean, the weather that is connected with the psychology of the character, that's so amazing. It's so symbolic. Yeah. And even Connie was the same. I mean, Connie and John, that are best friends, are both clearing their mind in the same context, in the same forest, and thanks to the member that is not there with them anymore, that means Sasha. I'm pretty sure that even John was thinking what the Sasha would have done, and I'm pretty sure that he tried his best to think if Sasha would have agreed with what he was doing. So both Connie and John were helped somehow, even by the thoughts of Sasha, and even by remembering what the Sasha would have done in the case she was still alive. Mm. And then Gabby is asking, "Will you help us?" And of course, Johnny is saying, "Yes." Oh, it's obvious. That was so great. As another confirmation. Reiner that is waking up in that way. I mean, poor Reiner. Look, I feel so terrible for him because, look, even in the previous episode, he was waking up thanks to punches or kickings from Andy. In this case, Johnny is taking him like this. Reiner, wake up. But the way in which he's waking up is so nostalgic because it seems that as if they are still training at that time many years before, 4 years before, and they are all together once again. That's so beautiful. The way, yeah, in which he was waking up Reiner, it's so nostalgic. It seems as if a time didn't pass. I mean, as if they're going into this time machine and they can go back at what they were before. This is simply amazing. And then there is this other scene. Look, there is this cart that is trained by horses. And during the reaction, I was telling you, look, it's like the sunset scene. At that time, the cart was trained because of the railways, of course. But the scene is almost the same, and it's pretty sad because at that time, Eren was there with them. And this time, he is not there with them. So it seems as if there is the same context but with different people, as if there is a deep connection with that scene actually, because once again it's like as if Eren, by saying what he said, he was trusting them a lot and he was taking care of them so much that he loved them also because of this, because he could trust them, because he knew that they were so important to him, and also because they could have had things that he didn't have. So that's why he loves them so much. But at the same time, I mean, he is loving them also because by seeing the things from the future, maybe he saw that they were all unified against him. So he thought, I love them also because they can do what I can't do. That means they forgiven, or they are going somehow to stay on the side of the same enemies, the same traitors. That is something that I would have never done. And that's why I think Eren would appreciate this choice even more than ever, because I don't think Eren would go against this, because now Eren has a knowledge of everything that happened, and he already knows that Reiner and all the others are also Yumiro no Tami. So he knows that what they are doing is totally fine. Eren wants to become the target, and Eren knows that he's going to be killed by them. I believe so. So because everything is written. But I think that he saw some scenes in which he saw them all together, maybe. And that cart scene, I mean, that sunset scene at that time was pretty meaningful, because I think that even Eren knew that that was the last time, maybe, that he could have spent the time in paradise all together with them. And yeah. But anyway, the contrast between these two scenes is that at that time there was the sunset. Here we have the dawn. That means the sunset, the end of something, dawn, the beginning of something else. That is something new. That is something that can give hope. Um, Another contrast is that Eren was there, while here now Eren is not there with them anymore. So was that a proper choice made by Eren himself because everything was written already, or because he saw it already? And then another thing is that the silence. The silence is still there as much as in both the scenes, but the silence is different, because the silence while Eren was there in the sunset scene was a silence that was meaning that, yeah, they all loved each other, they all loved one another. And it was better not to express it, because it was obvious. And in fact, John stopped that silence at the time, because he was saying, oh, come on, you are blushing, blah 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 blah. And Armin was saying, no, it's because of the sun. No, okay. But in this time we have a silence that is a silence of a pain, a silence of look, another day is starting, so something else can start too. But that doesn't mean that we can forget. And in fact, John will never forget what Reiner said. And in fact, he's not even wanting to say sorry to him. Of course, Reiner is accepting this once again, because that's the only thing he can do, and because he knows the mistakes he made, and he understands the feelings that John is feeling. Uh, John, on the contrary, is worried about Gabby's conditions once again, and he's asking sorry to her. I mean, after she was saying sorry to him, then he is saying sorry to her. That is a way to repay the sorry he could have heard before. This is amazing. Sorry from one side, sorry from the other side, and everything can go back in the best way. This is another great message that the author wants to convey. If both of the sides can recognize the mistakes and they can say sorry to each other, the problems are solved. Look, everything seems so simple, but it's not. Otherwise, it would have been solved already 2,000 years before. But this makes you understand that even the simplest thing can be even the most difficult. Yeah. Mm. And then Annie's saying, what about me? I mean, she wanted that John was saying sorry to her because of what uh, he was thinking. Or is she saying, what about me? That means, are you going to forgive me at least? And this is, if that's the case, that's something shocking, because we would have never expected that Annie would have said something like this. As if Annie, at the end of the day, she has never regretted those years she spent with these people. And she really found so great with them, as much as Reiner, as much as Gabby. So it's like as if that's her other place in the world, as I was telling you in the previous episode's analysis. I mean, Annie is discovering, as much as when she was talking to Hitch, okay, that she doesn't have just one place in that world. She has another one that she has never taken into consideration, but now more than ever can take into consideration because Annie can find other people who can care about her the more we go on like this. So these, what about me? And John didn't reply now, but maybe one day he will forgive her because John knows that it was not coming from her, that it was not her who was choosing to kill Marco. So little by little, step by step, everything can be possible. I think so. John has a kind-hearted. I mean, he has a kind heart. I mean, he's a kind-hearted person. So I am definitely convinced that he can forgive her at least. But now it's not the time to say so because it takes time. And then Pika is telling them that the Jaegerists are arrived in advance at the port because they wanted to reach it before them, but they were reaching it in advance. And we see that Kiyomi Azumabito is hostage. I mean, he's an hostage right now because Flock is pointing at her this weapon. And now let's see what do they do because now they have to confront the Flock once again. They have to confront the Jaegerists once again. And we know that they are going to use this flying boat, as Hanji says, in order to reach the other side of the ocean, in order to reach Eren. So let's see what's going to happen in the next episode because definitely they have to find an escamotage. They have to find a way to reach that flying boat and reach Eren. So this means that they have to go against the Jaegerists once again. Let's see what's going to happen. This is pretty interesting. Okay, guys, I think for this analysis, that is it. Hope you enjoyed. I tried my best to analyze everything in details as always. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you for all the new subscribers. Keep subscribing to the channel and see you on Sunday with episode 85, yes, or 26 of this final season of Shingeki no Kyojin. Thank you so much and see you next Wednesday with the analysis and thoughts dedicated to that episode in particular. Thank you so much, guys. Bye. See you in the next video. Bye. Bye bye.